So how does showering make me a bad podcaster?
Because podcasters are disgusting, David. Jesus. You know, you have to sit there, like, we should all look like Charlie Day in the episode where they get a job to get health insurance all the time. Chris Chan is our Pepe Sylvia.
What about all those knitting podcasts? Are they disgusting too?
Knitting is the most disgusting habit of all, David. Hobbits do it.
Hobbits do a lot of things. They also eat lots of food.
Yeah, the hobbits are disgusting, David.
Alright, well, hello everyone. Welcome to It Came From the Internet. I'm David, and I'm here with Dylan, as always. And we're actually here to talk about one of Dylan's favorite things.
Every time, I haven't really seen The Lord of the Rings, so every time I think of hobbits, I think of Clerks 2, where, what's like the bad pair of clerks? It's Randall's like the responsible one, isn't it?
Dante.
Dante is the responsible one. Randall, and he's in an argument with the dude over whether Star Wars or Lord of the Rings is better, and he straight up says, like, well, Bilbo's gonna fucking straight up lay a brick in Frodo's mouth. And that's all I think about when I think of hobbits, because it's not as filthy as just saying, like, he's gonna shit in his mouth, but the imagery is so much worse, and it doesn't get said a lot, and I feel like laying a brick in someone's mouth should be an insult we all use a little more.
I concur with whatever that. Yes.
This is a really good start to this podcast.
It is a really good start to this podcast. We are here to talk about Homestuck, which I have I've read a little bit of Homestuck, but I think I finished the first chapter, right? I feel like you should know this.
Did you get through the first act?
Maybe.
Like, when did you stop?
I don't remember.
Did, anyone... Were there any aliens yet?
No.
No? Okay, you didn't really... You know how, at Kingdom Hearts 2, there's that long prologue with Roxas?
Yes.
You got through that.
Ah.
You have not even scratched the surface. This will be as much for you as it will be for everyone else.
Yes, but my only other experience with Homestuck is, for some reason, I read all of one of Hussie's other comics, Cool Bro and Hella Jeff.
Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff.
Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff.
Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff is the Shakespeare of our time, David.
It is far too smart and funny for how fucking stupid it is.
It's amazing.
It's like when you watch South Park and you're like, I don't understand how they wrap so many so much biting social satire beneath all these dick and fart jokes.
It's really smart for how fucking stupid it is. Kind of sums up Homestuck, so we might as well just stop the podcast.
Well, no, the only other thing I know about Homestuck, that was the other half of this, is it's fucking fans.
Oh yeah, we're gonna cover that.
'Cause all I knew about Homestuck for the longest time before you convinced me to try to start reading it, I mean, the only reason I stopped is it's really fucking long, and I got distracted and just never came back.
Yeah, it's a very dense tome. PBS once said it was the Ulysses of our time, because, as much as the story is interesting, part of the appeal is just being able to say that you finished it. It is a dense fucking tome. There is no denying that. Before we begin proper with Homestuck, I feel like I should say, because I feel like we're going to get a lot of new blood in on this podcast. This version is the raw audio. It's unedited. It's not really filtered properly. In a couple weeks, a edited version that has music and levels the audio better, and will cut out the parts where you can hear my soul dying in the background, so it'll be a cleaner version if you rather wait for that one. But if all you want to do is hear the sweet dirt we have on Blade Kind Eyewear, popular Homestuck theorist, then go ahead and stick with us for this.
Also, if you do just stick around if you do just want the clean version, you'll never hear this, so...
Yes, you won't.
Anyway. But yeah, so the only, with the fans, I know that apparently in one act of Homestuck, which there's 9 right now, right?
Defined act.
I don't know, like chapters, I don't know, whatever you call it. Because I know that the troll characters, which I thought was all of Homestuck for the longest time, are only like main characters in one section of the story. Like they stick around, but
Yeah, more or less. So the problem with Homestuck's format, and we'll get into this, is that it was set up into acts, but at some point Hussie figured, why am I setting this up into acts? I'm going through this so quickly, I might as well not even bother. So he didn't. And then people got upset because it's like, this story is really thick, and I don't really know when to stop. And the acts were like, okay, you hit a good story beat. So then he started, like, instead of getting rid of the acts, he started bumping up the acts. So now, in the current arc, we are technically in Act 6, but it is cut up into smaller acts. So there's Act
okay.
6, Act 1, Act 6, Act 1, Intermission 1, like, fucking bullshit sub-arcs, and he's turned his very format into a joke, which is kind of why Homestuck's cool.
It's a very meta comic, that much I know.
Yeah.
But so like I was saying, so I only knew about Homestuck for the longest time because people were cosplaying as and obsessed with these troll characters who basically I didn't give a shit about that. I didn't know anything about the characters, but the people who were obsessed with the characters annoyed the fucking shit out of me.
Oh yeah, Homestuck has one of the worst fandoms in the world, probably. It's gotten a lot
Totally.
better, actually. Over the past year, I have not seen anywhere near as much bullshit as there once was. It's mostly died down. There's no longer people vomiting into buckets at a Denny's like there was.
What?
That's the thing that happened. There was a
I guess.
video of some troll cosplayers like spitting up into a bucket at a Denny's that they were at like a convention.
Is that like what the characters do or something?
No, we'll get to it. It's dumb.
But
we should probably explain ground floor. I don't know what the fuck Homestuck is, Dylan. What is it? Let me tell you what.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna compare the fandom to another fandom that I hate, but I honestly don't know of any that are as bad as Homestuck. Kind of, I guess, Nightmare Before Christmas people.
Yeah.
Because that invaded Hot Topic and became a much larger pop culture touchstone.
The Shin Megami Tensei fans can get really, really fucking obnoxious, especially
Sonic fans.
Sonic fans are like almost.
No. See, that doesn't work either because most of the Sonic games are shit. Homestuck is good.
Right, and like I feel like Sonic fans are mostly self-contained. They have their communities that you can look into, but it doesn't taint everything it touches like Homestuck seems to.
Doctor Who fans.
Yeah, Doctor Who fans, those suck.
Yeah, they do. I say as someone who runs a Doctor Who podcast.
Great. Doctor Who fans and Homestuck fans.
Fucking worst.
Yeah, alright. So if you're a fan of our podcast and you don't know what Homestuck is, or if someone you know knows what it is and wanted to sort of give you a primer on it, which I think this podcast could be a good use of. Homestuck is very difficult to describe. I've tried to describe it a handful of times just to myself, but it's almost impossible to do. And the reason that is because you know how in like Dragon Ball there's like 2 shows?
Yeah.
There's a Dragon Ball, which is like this modernized version of the Journey to the West myth, and it's very fantastic voyage. And then there's Dragon Ball Z, which is just fighting.
And then there's GT.
But that doesn't count.
It doesn't count.
In the comic, there's no retitle, there's no shift. It just becomes Dragon Ball Z. It doesn't like renumber or rename or anything.
It's like Naruto. Naruto just was always Naruto, but then the show became Naruto Shippuden after the time skip.
Right, but like even that is like it was always people fighting. Dragon Ball was about fighting, but it was mostly about like the journey. And then
I don't like Dragon Ball Z. I kind of like Dragon Ball enough.
I don't either. That exact same tonal shift happens every act in Homestuck.
Well, because they change characters a lot. Like
But it's so incredibly layered, and like every act is like now the fundamental purpose of the story has completely shifted. So to describe what it is now is to not describe what it was, and describe what it was is to not indicate what it will become. So it's a very difficult thing to sort of say in a blurb. So I guess that's what we're going to try to do here in an hour, is try to describe what Homestuck is. Not just what the comic is, but what the people around it are, which is an integral part to understanding it.
All right.
So Homestuck is the single biggest webcomic in existence.
Really?
It is the biggest webcomic there has ever been, probably.
Bigger than Penny Arcade?
Penny Arcade is the only thing that's even close. And in my research, I was looking into it. Penny Arcade has been slowly hemorrhaging like hits on Google for a long time. Probably just because I imagine that community is becoming more self-contained. Homestuck has consistently, since 2009, been where Penny Arcade was, almost at its peak of popularity.
I guess I kind of understand that, because I mean, even though like PAX and stuff is a thing, it's not really connected to the comic at all. It's just about video games and stuff.
Even if Penny Arcade is bigger, Homestuck is the single biggest narrative webcomic.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's a couple Gag-A-Day ships that might come close, but even then, it's like, PAX has so many conventions that it does, but like you said, they're not really related to the comic anymore. And
you could go to PAX and really not know what Penny Arcade really is.
I didn't for the longest time. But it's kind of every convention is a Homestuck convention at this point.
I don't want to hear that.
It's true. That's how big it is. It's the fandom is so all-encompassing.
Great.
So I guess to really describe what Homestuck is, you have to know who created it, and the man behind Homestuck is Andrew Hussie.
Is Hussie his actual last name?
I think it is. I don't think it's a pseudonym. It might be, because we actually don't know very much about him.
Besides the fact people gave him $8 million to make a Homestuck game?
It was only like 2.5, but yeah.
Are you sure about that? I thought it was more. It was definitely...
It was like 2.5. At the time, it was like the 5th most highest funded Kickstarter project and like the 3rd highest funded game.
I'm looking on Kickstarter because I remember looking at Kickstarter on Wikipedia once a couple years ago, and it was in like the top 5 projects.
Yeah, it was really big. There actually was some, like, they finally put out like a pretty big update on how that game's going recently, and it's apparently almost done.
What the fuck?
Like, all right, we gotta.
Hold on. Do you know what the top 3 Kickstarter projects are?
What?
The number 3 Kickstarter project is Exploding Kittens.
All right.
Which is, that card game.
I just thought it was like some dude wanted to blow kittens up.
It's a card game.
That sounds like
someone's making. He got $8.7 million. All
right, look here.
Number 2 is the Pebble eWatch, which makes sense because that was like giant. And number 1 is Coolest Cooler. 21st century cooler that's actually a cooler. I don't know what that is.
Is it just a really cool cooler? Like, is it cool because it's hip with the kids, or...?
I don't fucking know. Oh, I guess I also found the list of highest funded crowdfunding projects, and number 1 is actually Star Citizen because it raised a shit ton of money. It's raised $74 million through venture capital and just people buying crazy-ass ships that they can't even use yet.
I hear it sucks.
I don't know. I could actually make like $150 right now selling the like cheapest level Kickstarter ship I have, and I just haven't because I don't know what to do if I want to play it or not.
All right, look here, everyone. I'm going to start up a Patreon or an Indiegogo or a Fundly or some shit. You pay me $5 a month, I will blow up a kitten once a month. And if you
do that, you'll get arrested, right?
Fund me, they'll never find me, David. All right, I'm really good at it.
Really, I've been listening to lots of stories about serial killers, and they find them pretty easy because they're not that bright. And I love you.
Fucking don't.
I don't know if you're that. I don't know if you could run from the police for forever and continue to blow up kittens and get money for it.
If reading about Jeffrey Dahmer taught me anything, it's that if you're a white guy in the ghetto, you can do anything. And I'm a white guy in the ghetto. All right. Look, these fucking cats, they're just taking up space. All right. I'm doing a public service here.
And
All right.
I bet there are a lot of people who would agree with you, actually.
I have all these firecrackers, and there's all these cats. There's two problems, and here's the solution. All
Some
right.
match made in heaven.
I got the birds. I just need money to buy the stone. Homestuck.
Homestuck.
There are dead birds and cats in Homestuck. That's a thing.
What?
Yeah, that's very. All right. Well, whatever. So
Okay.
Homestuck, created by Andrew Hussie as part of MS Paint Adventures.
So we really don't know a lot about Andrew Hussie?
We like. All right. Well, like we know what he looks like, but he doesn't really talk about his life very much, which is very bizarre. Like, all right. So Andrew Hussie.
Because most of the people who are artists and create things are egomaniacs. Not that's a bad thing, but
Like in the digital age, he has like a Twitter and a Formspring and everything. He's active on it. He just doesn't talk about himself. I mean,
he lets his work speak for itself.
Hussie made Tumblr as much as the people who made Tumblr made it. He is that integral to that community.
Because of Homestuck or because of him?
Well, because of Homestuck, but just like his writing style and his humor style and everything leaked into that website so quickly.
In a bad way.
In a bad way.
Because he's really smart, and most of the people who try to do his comedy are not.
Right, he's smart, he has a really good sense, he's like a really good writer, he's got very good like poise, prose, fucking whatever. Very few people can match him on that,
I mean,
at least on the internet.
Homestuck was supposed to be a small project, wasn't it? It wasn't supposed to be this epic... Because the dude did several webcomics.
Yeah, so that's what MS Paint Adventures is. If you want to find Homestuck, you don't go to Homestuck.com, you go to MS Paint Adventures. And that is a thing that has been around since, I want to say like 2005. And it was a little side thing that he did. And the idea was it was a text-based game that, like, there was a suggestion box on the side, and it was like you could type in...
2007.
2007. And, like, alright, so, like, this character is going to do whatever you tell it to do. Here's where we are. The big one is Problem Sleuth. That was like, there's a couple. There's like Bard's Quest and Jailbreak. I don't think either of those finished. I think Problem Sleuth is the only one that actually got done before Homestuck.
Which means that nothing else will get done if it didn't finish before Homestuck.
Right, and there's a lot of like callbacks to Problem Sleuth and stuff like that that are kind of cute. So the idea was like, oh hey, here's this character, this is his surroundings, what do you want him to do? And you'd type it in, and then he'd look through the suggestions, and then he'd like draw whatever people wanted him to draw. Again, this is a format that's very popular on Tumblr now, and he kind of originated it. Now they're kind of called like ask blogs. You see them a bunch of like, someone will role play as a character, someone will send in like a question, and then they'll usually like doodle the response.
Artists are weird.
Yeah. It's cute, whatever. Most people do it. It's like kind of fun. You see a bunch of them. Sometimes they're funny, whatever. But again, he kind of made that in a sense. So Problem Sleuth lasted for a few years, and then it ended. And then his next project was Homestuck, which I don't know if he does do an MS Paint anymore. He didn't initially. Homestuck started on April 10th, and it was originally going to be completely done in Flash.
April 10th of?
2009.
Okay.
And then, like, after 2 days, he was like, wow, it's really a pain in the ass to do a page in Flash every goddamn day, when most of the time, the dude is just going to walk to the left and pick something up. So his solution was, I'm just going to make a bunch of GIFs. Instead of going through like the trouble of like doing a Flash animation for every motion, it's like just gonna make them like real dumb, jittery GIFs, and then when I have like a really big thing I want to do, I'll do that in Flash. And that's basically the format of Homestuck. It is 1,000 like GIFs with text tied to them, and then you get like a big old Flash music video.
Really?
Yeah.
But doesn't it evolve beyond that at a certain point?
No.
But I thought like there's like games you actually play in there.
I mean, there's never like a game with like a fail state, but like there are walk around sections where it's like, hey, you can walk around his house and like you can kind of explore stuff. Sometimes there are like little goofy RPG segments, but they're all skippable. Those things are pretty far apart. They're not really big, but they're things. They exist and they're cool. And if you're a member of the fandom, it's like, oh, cool. I'm not just going to sit here and watch them talk. I have some agency in this. Although you really do just sort of sit there and watch them talk. That's basically what it is format-wise. It's part of the reason people have such trouble explaining what it is, because it's not a webcomic in the typical sense. You say webcomic, most people think, like, basically the funnies. Like, here's 3 panels, it's a gag-a-day strip. But even like a narrative webcomic is usually like, here's a page a day instead of 20 pages 1 day a month. And Homestuck's really none of those. It's this very unusual format that's kind of difficult to describe and isn't really something you can do in another format. There are like print versions of Homestuck you can buy, but they're heavily modified.
Okay.
So as a result, Homestuck has real shit pacing.
Just because of it comes out once a day, or because
No, because alright, so here's how it works. Alright, so most of
does it have shit pacing because you're working through the lives of these characters and life has shit pacing?
Kind of, but it's more like, alright, here is 30 pages of 2 characters talking. It's a long conversation. It's all done in pester logs, which are formatted like IM chats, basically. And that's kind of part of the appeal, is because, or at least initially when I was reading it, is because I was reading them and I was like, this just sounds a lot like the conversations I have with my dumb friends over Steam.
You mean me?
Yeah, I mean, this is before you. This was back in the golden years.
I don't know. We knew each other since... When did you start reading Homestuck?
Like 2012.
Then no, we knew each other in 2009, dude. I've known you for a long time.
Yeah, but we didn't like talk or anything.
We did a bit.
Sure.
Fuck you.
So anyways, what was I saying? Right. So it's like, fucking, here's 30 pages, because he's, like I said, Hussie is a very verbose. He's good at it.
It's literally yours and I's IM chats.
Yeah. But it's like every character has like a unique writing style, and each one is like verbose in their own stupid little way. And it'll go on for literally hundreds of pages, and then here's a music video where everything changes. And the music videos are super jittery and fast-paced. And it's like in one video, the villains, like a completely new villain appears, a character like solves her entire past.
In a page.
Like 1 page, yeah, and it's like a 3-minute music video, and like the villain appears, or like the new villain appears, and like the entire status quo changes. That's part of why the comic is interesting, though. Is like, we've been reading for 1,000 pages, and now in 1 page, the entire game is different.
Everything's fucking changed.
Everything has changed dramatically. And that can be a problem, and it can be a positive. It's a problem because it means sometimes you just want the characters to shut up and get on with it. But other times, those are really awesome moments. Those are the types of moments of, like, when there's a flash, everyone gets excited because something's happening.
That's adorable.
Yeah, it's interesting. In terms of characters, Homestuck probably has the biggest cast with, like, the least amount of, like, lost potential. It's kind of a weird way of saying what I'm trying to say, but basically, if you read comics like Dragon Ball or like Bleach especially.
Bleach especially.
Bleach has a ton of characters, and like maybe 3 matter or get focus.
And if anyone wants to complain about our hating on Bleach, go fuck yourself.
Nah, that's okay.
No, it's not okay. I like Bleach a lot. I am current with Bleach. I know what happened last week in the Japanese Shonen Jump issue. That doesn't mean it's a brilliant comic. It has shit pacing.
The good guy who's been sick, it turns out he's part of God.
He's part of God.
We're sorry we didn't mention it earlier. Whatever.
It does not know how to do a plot twist that actually, makes sense.
Yeah. So basically every scene of Bleach where like a character is surprised because someone else appeared behind them is replaced by characters talking. So imagine like a shonen manga where instead of fights, the characters just talk.
So it's Mad Men.
Kind of.
Because it's about the characters too, right? Like, I mean,
it's primarily about the characters.
Yeah, like, well, that's the whole thing about Mad Men is if you're watching it to like watch a show about plot, don't fucking watch Mad Men because it's literally all about the characters. The events just tie into how they you're literally just learning about how these events affect their lives, not like, oh, how does this character react to this? It's like no, we're following this person's life.
Right. It's primarily a character-focused thing. There's a ton of characters, and usually each of them will get some amount of focus. Like you'll at least get a couple good conversations out of them, and then they'll pop back up throughout the comic, even when they're dead. And it's hard not to find someone you like. Even if you hate Homestuck, there are so many characters who hate it with you.
Really?
There are entire you could probably list an entire team of characters within Homestuck that hate Homestuck, and you could probably have like a whole baseball team out of it.
Well, let's take a brief moment to say because this I can actually say this is about the breadth of my Homestuck knowledge. So Homestuck is a webcomic about this basic at its very base level. Since I don't know everything that happens, it's about a group of friends that want to play this new video game, and it starts. Who's the main guy at the beginning?
So the main character of the comic is John Egbert.
Yeah. So
Egbert, whatever. Fucking.
So John gets a copy of this new game. What's it called? Sburb.
Sburb, suburb without the U. It's a real fucking stupid name.
Which is. It's an asymmetrical co-op game. Before that was ever a fucking thing.
So here's the thing, Hussie. So here's part of the cool thing that we'll talk about a little later. Hussie, it's just a really good ideas guy. Like he has really good ideas for game mechanics, and I'm kind of. There are recent events that imply that he is full on game developer now. That I'm really happy about because I want to see him tackle games. So the basic idea.
He's fucking brilliant.
Yeah. So the basic idea of Sburb is it is a two-player game where one player is playing The Sims and the other player is playing Diablo. Or I suppose a more contemporary comparison is two people are playing Minecraft. One person collects supplies and the other builds with them. So the basic idea: you build up your home, and as you build it up, you unlock portals to dungeons, more or less. And every player has their own little planet, and they have quests they can do on the planet. And as they do quests, they get grist, and different types of grist build different types of objects to build up their home, to build new weapons. It's a loot game basically, but instead of finding the loot, you build it. And as you build up, you will eventually join your co-op partner on their planet to help them do quests. And the ultimate end of the game is all the characters will go to the final level and beat the final boss. And that's effectively what Sburb is. And for most of Homestuck, that seems to be the end goal, is just to finish the game. And the start of Homestuck, it is a 4-player game, but we see later on a 12-player game, and there is an implied 36-player game.
Shit.
We don't ever see the 36-player game, but Hussie has threatened to show it us a couple times.
What, threatened to show it to you?
We'll cover that, because when we see the 12-player game, it fucking sucks.
Oh.
That's when everything went bad, David. That's when the Fire Nation attacked.
God damn it, Dylan.
But Sburb seems pretty cool. So the game, the story, the first act, the act you read, is basically John has a bunch of shenanigans trying to get the game to play. And so it's easy to call Homestuck a satire. It's kind of become much more than that. But at the start, it was like making fun of adventure games by like giving John a really complicated inventory system.
Which was a really good joke, though.
It was. It got boring after you saw it 12 times in a fucking row.
I enjoyed it. I enjoy it because as someone who fucking loves point-and-click adventure games, I loved every fucking stupid evolution of the inventory system.
Yeah. But again, after you see it 12 times in a row,
yeah,
the joke. But like, so John's, he has like a stack modus. So he has like, he's got like 5 inventory slots. He can only use the most recent slot. So if he wants to get something like 4 slots in, he's got to go through everything else first. And if he overdoes his inventory, like items like fire out of his inventory at like the speed of sound. So like he will pick up like shards of glass, and then he has to be very careful not to pick up too much, or else he will become decapitated.
Yeah.
And then
God damn it, Dylan! I need to read more Homestuck.
It's a good joke.
It's a good it's what I've read is really good. It's literally just I'm a very busy person.
Yeah.
And it's fucking long.
Yeah. That first arc is actually that first act is so different from the rest of the comic. It's actually kind of hard to go back and read it. But it's fun. And then after that, it sort of devolves into like, what is Sburb? Because it's not a normal video game. It becomes very apparent that Sburb is like, even in a world that works on game mechanics, Sburb is something else, and the world is ending actively. And when you play Sburb, you're like transported into another dimension, basically. So for a big chunk of the comic is what is Sburb and what are we trying to do? And like acts 1 through 4, which I think are only the first year of Homestuck, that they went through about 3 acts.
Shit.
We just sort of see like the characters trying to get Sburb to play, and then like the problems they find when they go into Sburb. But to talk a little bit more about the mechanics of Sburb, because again, they're really interesting mechanics.
No, yeah, it's a fucking like if it could be a real game, which it couldn't, like, just because of what happens in the show. But like even just from a premise, if it was all just like, you know, you're playing a character that's playing Sburb, it's fucking fascinating.
It is. So, for one example, every character has like a spirit guide, like a Legend of Zelda style. Like Link has Navi or Midna or whatever the fucking sword is. Fi, fucking whatever. You get to pick which one you want. And the way you do that is when you start the game, you get a kernel sprite, which is this little ball that follows you around, and you can put anything into it, and then your spirit guide will become that. So John, he accidentally puts like a clown toy into it, and he doesn't like clowns.
He hates clowns.
He hates clowns, and then he puts his grandmother's ashes into it. So his spirit guide is his grandmother as like a clown. The trick is, what you use to make your spirit guide also defines what you fight. So
does that mean John fights mostly clowns?
He fights all the enemies in Sburb become clown themed. And it's a co-op game, so everyone's spirit guides do that. So like by the time player 4 gets into the game, the enemies are drastically stronger, but that's why you have like player 1 and player 2 there to help you. So like if I put in fucking, I don't know, pills, and you put in like alcohol, all the enemies would be like super drunk and high, and they probably wouldn't be very accurate, but they'd take a ton of damage, stuff like that.
Alright.
It's just the idea of like, I'm going not just to decide what my guide is, but also the basic stats of the entire enemy force of the game. And like the characters try to get smart with it. Like at one point, John like finds a doll that doesn't like it has one arm and no eyes, and he's like, all right, well I'll use this, and then all the enemies will be blind and stupid. But sometimes it backfires. Like one character accidentally, in one session, accidentally prototyped Cthulhu, more or less, and then they all have to fight Cthulhus all the time.
I really need to read more of this.
It's a really cool idea for a game, and events that have transpired from his Kickstarter campaign imply that he'll probably develop more games than just adventure ones. So that's kind of what Homestuck is. To describe the plot of Homestuck, basically there's a player who's playing Sburb in a different game session who is fucking it up for everyone. He is across multiple dimensions ruining the game and making it unwinnable for everyone.
Because he's a troll, or he's just really shitty?
He's just a fucking monster. He's not. I mean, he's a troll in the internet sense, and he might be a troll in the literal sense. It's a complex narrative. It's a narrative that follows the kids in their game session, but it also follows multiple game sessions. And a big mystery for a lot of the comic, and kind of even now, is who is the player fucking everything up. Because we don't really know. There's heavy implications that it is a certain character, but the genius of Hussie is that we can't really be sure, because he's pulled stunts before. He is very Kojima-esque in that he will deliberately manufacture things a certain way just to fuck with us.
Except unlike Kojima, people don't figure it out immediately.
Right. The problem with Homestuck is we don't really know, because even if we found it out, he could just change it on the fly.
Is there like precedence of that happening?
Oh yeah, definitely. So the thing is, part of the reason Homestuck is so popular is that it is heavily intertwined with the fandom, in such a sense that Hussie has straight up said, if you feel like you called it, you probably wrote it. Like, he probably saw your idea and integrated it into the story, rather than you just predicting it.
Wow.
That's why it's so hard to describe it, because so many times it has completely shifted, because people know, like, they figure what's going to happen, so he just goes in a completely different direction. Like, even the description I gave, that doesn't even happen until, like, the 6th act. But it's heavily implied throughout. It's a crazy fucking ride, David.
I can imagine. I feel like I really need to read it.
Right.
God damn it, the fans.
Yeah, the fans. Again, it's gotten better, and the reason it's gotten better is partially because of the update schedule. So Homestuck started in 2009, and then it went, I think, continuously until 2012. Hold on one second here. I have not that one. Not that one, not that one. 10, 20, blah, blah, blah. I can't see the fucking year. I think it was 2012. And then it would continuously update, and it updated basically every day. I think like when the Kickstarter campaign started, it had averaged 5 pages a day.
Holy fucking shit.
And like at one point, Hussie was like, if I stopped writing right now, if I just used the ideas I have now, I could continue Homestuck unabated for 10 years. And looking back, he definitely could have. He like drastically condensed several events specifically to avoid that.
Wow.
And it's all done, maybe not in MS Paint, but it's a very simplistic art style.
But it's a good art style for sure. Like, I like it.
He's got a fantastic style to him, and he manages to convey a sense of kinesis almost. Like there's a good sense of movement to everything. Nothing feels awkward. Everything looks like it almost looks like a still image of like something in motion, but like without the awkwardness that usually entails. There's no doubt Hussie is a talented artist. Like even if he's not like, I don't know, Da Vinci, maybe not Da Vinci because No, Da Vinci. It was wait, was Da Vinci an artist?
Yes, he
He
was a
was.
painter.
He's a painter. Even if he's not Da Vinci level, I was thinking of Van Gogh. Van Gogh's the secretly shitty one.
Oh no, Van Gogh's great. Fuck
Yeah,
you.
but he's got like a weird style.
No, he does, but
I mean,
you
like even if
don't
he's not
like
like classically trained, Hussie he's a good artist. He's clearly
yeah.
knows what he's doing.
He has a very great he may draw in his own style, but it's an interesting style, and he does it really fucking well.
And he does it really fucking fast. So there was no schedule, so he would just update it whenever he wanted to. So people were always like, did it update? I don't know if it updated yet. So you just had people who would just like keep it in a tab, and every once in a while they just like refresh it. So he must be fucking rolling in the money. Even before it like picked up, just from that. Just like how many page views did he get just by people checking if there was an update?
A lot.
And it's not, it ain't easy to do, but he did it. And he was writing and producing, and he never went like more than a week without an update until Cascade.
Cascade?
Cascade?
Really? It's called Cascade?
Yeah, like all the flashes have like names. Usually it's like character ascend or like, I don't know.
Oh, I thought this was like, okay, that makes more sense.
And it was like the big end to like the first half of Homestuck, you could say. And it was like, it took like 2 months for him to finish animating it. And to give you an idea of how fucking big Homestuck is, it routinely crashes his site. And he was like, this is going to crash my site. I got to find a way to put this somewhere else. So he struck a deal with Newgrounds, and they posted it there. So if it crashed his site, it would automatically redirect to Newgrounds. And it crashed Newgrounds.
Which, that's fucking insane.
Yeah, I mean, granted, this is like 2011, 2012, completely obsolete Newgrounds, but it was still Newgrounds.
Yeah, well, Newgrounds still exists,
It
technically.
exists, but so does Blip. So does E-Bomb's World.
Wait, it
So
does?
Vimeo. So does MySpace. David, if the internet taught you anything, it's that nothing really dies. It's just
Nothing
fake.
ever. It just. People stop giving a fucking shit.
Yeah. I'm sure someone out there cares very deeply about Newgrounds, though. Sometimes just redirect
Yes,
to the Newgrounds Cascade.
they're called the Behemoth.
Yeah. Well. Okay, yeah. I reread Homestuck a couple months ago, and I went there, and it took me to the Newgrounds page instead of the normal one for some reason. Fuck. Yeah, it's a big webcomic. It's very popular.
Clearly.
Right. So Act 5 is the act that everything kind of changed. That's really where Homestuck became something different, and that's really where it became what we know it as. Because this whole time, there's sort of this mystery of what is Sburb, who are these trolls that kind of show up, what's the point of the game? Act 5 starts up, and we immediately go to the troll homeworld, and we follow the 12-player session. And more or less, we follow these characters to find out what their game is like. We go through the same jokes we got through with the 4 kids of like, hey, here's my Sylladex. Hey, isn't it? Look at all these wacky shenanigans I'm having. I like this stuff, this dumb stuff. I like dumb movies. I like dumb fish because I'm a fish person. For Jesus Christ, David, it's like a fucking, it's like 500 solid pages of the same joke.
That's.
It's called Hive Bent because it's like the troll version of Homestuck is the idea because the trolls live in hives, they don't live in homes.
I see.
I don't know what the bent part means.
Get bent.
Sure, get bent. So the trolls are weird. I'm sure you've seen them. They are gray. They have like candy corn horns, and it's just a big cast. And we kind of follow them in their game session, but we kind of gloss over most of it too. Each one of them is based on part of the Zodiac. And this is the problem, is sometimes, and we'll talk about this later, Hussie is as much a slave to his own symbolism as the fans are. Like, I don't know why he felt the need to have the entire fucking Zodiac in action, but
he did.
like, of the 12 trolls, maybe 4 are important to the story.
Shit.
And even then, probably like half of them are only important because they're like close to other trolls who are actually important to the plot. And that sounds like a really damning criticism, but again, it's a character-driven story. And a lot of people love the trolls. A lot of people like them. They think they're funny.
Yeah, no, that's why I refused to even read Homestuck for the longest time, because the people that like the trolls are some of the worst people in the world.
Yeah, they suck. Most of the trolls suck. Solix sucks. Pfeffery sucks.
They're They're literally just trolls.
Yeah.
Like, they are the physical incarnation of internet trolls.
Like, the 4 good trolls are like Carcat, Gamzee, Terezi, I guess. That's it. It's 3. It's not even 4. All the other trolls suck. Equius is okay. Like, well, the thing is, like, half of them are just, like, gag characters anyways. Like, Equius is, like, Sagittarius, and Hussie really thinks horses are funny. I don't really know.
A long face.
So he made Equius, like, this really creepy pervert who, like, sweats all the time, and his room is plastered with muscle beast porn. Which is like, you know that pornography of like just really muscular humanized animals fucking each other?
No.
Like, have you ever seen like the really weird horse fetish?
No. No.
Is that something we all? Is that just part of the internet? You don't just see that?
No, it's totally just part of the internet. I've just managed to avoid it. Like, that's not a damning criticism of you. I've just literally managed to avoid it. So I don't know what you're talking about, and I'm kind of glad, but god damn it, I don't, expect any different.
Well, that plasters Equius's room, and it's pretty funny. It's just funny that Hussie covered his character's room in horse pornography.
Because horses.
Yes.
I see.
You want to like just fucking quit the podcast?
No, I'm interested.
Let's start over.
Why?
No reason. Anyways.
You're not allowed to. Are you that upset that I don't know what fucking horse monster porn is?
Kind of. Anyways. So, I mean, again, it's character-oriented, so that's kind of the problem, is, like, a lot of people like the trolls. I fucking hated them. I really like the kids. I like the kids a lot that you start out with. I like John a lot, especially. And I wanted to see what was going to happen to him. And, like, to stop for, like, 500 pages to follow a whole new cast of characters that I don't really know, like, immediately put me against them. And the kids are all, like, kind of milquetoast, I guess, in some sense. I don't think they're bad, but they're all, like, a little goody two-shoes. Like, none of them have major flaws immediately. And the trolls are all, like, hyper-violent and mean to each other. And I was, like, immediately, like, I just don't give a shit about these people. They're just jerks. Upon my reread, I did, like, end up finding, like, I did like the characters more, and there was more fun. But again, it's very clear that most of them are superfluous, and Hussie knows that. Because he kills most of them off.
Yeah, isn't there like an event where almost all the trolls die?
Yeah, it's fucking great. Like, it's called, like, Murderstuck, and, like, 2 of them just kill everyone. It's
nice.
The best. Vriska's okay. I forgot her. So it is 4.
Alright.
We should probably talk about that.
Talk about what?
Trolls. I want to talk about Hussie a little bit more, because we kind of glossed over him. Hussie's kind of... We've established the Homestuck fandom is primarily Tumblr people. They are very excitable, they're very passionate, they're
the worst people in the world.
They're they're like very infectious. Most of the time, They're not really insidious, but they get very grating.
They're most of them are complete morons.
Yeah, this is like pre-social justice Tumblr, basically. But what was I saying?
Tumblr, that most of Homestuck's fans are the Tumblr.
Alright, yeah, I forgot. I got like 6 fucking plot lines I'm trying to follow here in my head. Hussie is a 4chaner to the core. He fucking loves to screw with people. And boy, does he ever. And does he know how easy it is to screw with people who use Tumblr? Because it's real easy.
Yeah.
Real easy, and it's real fun.
Well, because most of them are teenagers.
Yeah, and that's a big part of, like, the fandom sucks, but Homestuck is good. But, like, do I want to read Homestuck enough to deal with the fandom? And the answer is yes, because I know if I do, eventually I'll be able to, like, watch them writhe in pain as Hussie screws with their expectations. And it'll be great.
It'll all be worth it then.
They'll just slowly wring all the life out of themselves in their writhing, and I'll just be able to lick it up off the floor with a sponge. And then like I'll use like the sponge, and I'll do that thing in like cartoons where like the character like he sponges up his own sweat, and then he like wrings it out above him and then drinks it. That's what I'll do, but with people's happiness.
Okay.
That's what yeah. So the big event that kind of signifies the relationship between Hussie and the fandom is Trickster Mode.
Trickster Mode.
Trickster Mode. So what Trickster Mode is, in the like walkabout sections of the games where like you get to move around, the debug mode will like modify the character sprites to make them all like cute and like Candyland-ish. So like John, who like has like this thick overbite and like just sort of stares, like he gets like all happy and he's got like a lollipop in his hair and whatnot. And it caught on really big with fan artists. They really love the Trickster Mode stuff. They like drawing Trickster Modes for the characters. And so late into the comic, she was like, well, I'll throw the fan artist a bone and I'll make Trickster Mode canon. I'll have like a little event where characters become tricksters. And all of the characters, all the human characters at least in Homestuck, are monochromatic. They are white, black, and usually one more color.
Right.
John and Jade are the only exceptions. Like John's color motif is blue, but his shirt is green, and Jade's color motif is green, but her shirt is blue. And that is explained why that's that way in the comic.
Because everything needs a fucking explanation.
Yeah. But more or less, you have a single like color motif, and that's it. And someone was like, like what race is Dave? I don't know why they asked it. I assume because Dave Strider raps a lot. And they were like, there's like a specific event where like someone called Dave's brother a white guy rapper, and they were like, does that make Dave white too? And he's like, well, in the comic, Hussie himself has appeared in the comic, like in like a comedic capacity, but he's been drawn into the comic. He doesn't interact with characters really, but he's there.
He's just there.
He'll like give story recaps, basically, and then sometimes the villain kills him at one point, and that's kind of funny. But so he's there. He's like, if you notice, I'm white in real life, but my character's skin color is like orange. But all the Homestuck characters are white. They're like stark white. Like that's because they're aracial in the comic. You can kind of make them whatever you want them to be. It doesn't really matter. The race is inconsequential anyways, and there's really no reason to like add a race to them when it's not necessary. So you can draw them or cosplay as them regardless of race. Don't worry about it. And that was what the status quo was for the longest time. It didn't matter, and you could basically be whoever you wanted to be. That is basically still the status quo. But when Trickster Mode came, he colored the characters, and he like has a character like straight up say, "I feel so Caucasian," which is a great joke.
It is a great joke.
It's a dumb joke. people flip the fuck out. Because this is right on the cusp of Tumblr becoming what it is, the hive of like festering social justice. I'm like doing finger quotes, you can't see it, but I am, that it's become. And a lot of people were like, that's way too fucking far, Hussie. How dare you? Like, people,
how dare you do with your own comic?
People take their theories and their head canons very seriously.
I hate that that's a thing. Shut up.
I want to take a cannon to their heads. Hey-o!
Tish. I hate you so much.
Anyways, my dog started to bark, so I had to stop. You got upset.
That's the only reason? Fuck you.
I could have kept going, David.
I know you could. I know you could have.
So anyway, so after this, Hussie did. This is notable because unlike the other events, Hussie did change this one. He went back and he changed the lines to "I feel so peachy," which is kind of the same joke, but it's a little more ambiguous. And initially, I was like, well, goddamn it, what, of all people, Hussie, like, if you took a stand, maybe they would have like gone like, well, it's not really that big a deal. But he did like go on record and say like, no, the joke's funny. I didn't change it because people didn't like the joke. I changed it because I saw people like using this to like be aggressive to people who were like people of different races who like those characters. Like they used it as a linchpin to be racist to them. And he was like, that's what I didn't like. That's why I changed it to stop that, basically.
Good. That's actually like that's something you can appreciate and respect.
And again, he stood by the joke. He should have said, I still think the joke's funny. I just didn't like that people were using it in such a way, so I changed it to basically the same joke.
Because I agree, the joke is funny. It's
a good joke.
Really stupid, but it's funny.
And I feel so peachy, I think, almost works a little better because they all have like a candy motif.
Yeah.
But I think that really goes to explain a lot, is that Hussie, he doesn't hate his fans, but he loves to screw with them. And the Dancestors also signify that he is not like especially neutral to what is happening to Tumblr.
I'm sorry, what is a Dancestor?
So the canon of Homestuck is very difficult. It's hard to really explain without like going into deep spoiler territory, but there are multiple sessions of the various games. The Dancestors are the crew who played the troll version of Sburb before they did. And they are called Dancestors because they are both the ancestors and the descendants through like time travel. Homestuck is also a very complex time travel story.
Really?
It is it's every type of time travel story.
I did not get that far.
So, like, most time travel stories, there's basically three types of time travel. The first type is, like, I can go back and I can change everything. To various degrees. Like, if I go back and I step on a butterfly, now Nazis have taken over. Or I can go back and I can save JFK. Then there is the type where I can go back, but it's already happened. Everything is set. Everything that I'm going to do, I have already done. There's no way to change the past. And then you can change the past, but you cannot change your past. You will just cause an alternate timeline. All three are applicable to Homestuck.
Fuck.
So, for example, Dave Schreider, his character, every character has like a class and an aspect, which is like an element they have control over. And Dave's is time. So he can go back in time. And the idea is, any universe where you cannot finish the game is a dead end. It is a failed session. That universe is gone, effectively. So he can go back and change his own timeline to stop it from being a dead universe. He can cause a split that will be successful. He can also go back and cause time loops so he does not end up in a dead universe. That is an integral part of the story of Homestuck. But there are other characters who gain similar powers that allow them to fundamentally alter time, basically. On a finer level, time is one thing, canon is another. There are characters who gain canon powers. So they can, like, fundamentally alter elements of the story.
Okay.
It's a complex... It's very complex.
It's a twisted web you're weaving, Dylan.
It is. So, like, the idea is there's, like, a player, and then there's a guardian. So, like, John's guardian is his dad, Dave's guardian is his brother. And then they play the game, but the guardians play a role in the game as well.
Isn't the brother the one that's obsessed with puppets?
Yeah. Alright, I gotta tell this story now. You've opened... Alright. So another good example of Hussie being a fucking weirdo is some dude on his forum, like, was role-playing as the puppet from Saw, and, like, demanded that someone draw him Muppet Baby porn. To which Andrew Hussie complied. And drew, like, this complex comic of, like, fuck, what's the one with, like, the hook nose? Grover?
Are you fucking kidding me?
It is Baby Grover and Baby...
No!
And, like, a shady motel.
It's Gonzo. Dumbass.
Grover's,
Grover's the purple thing from Sesame Street.
Okay, he's not the Trash Can one. That's Oscar.
No, that's Oscar. God, I hate you so much right now.
I didn't watch the Muppets. I had like Muppets Go to Space as a kid, but that was it.
Muppets from that's like the worst movie though.
Probably. I don't remember it. Anyways, and it's like Kermit's like I feel so bad about Miss Piggy, and then Gonzo is like Miss Piggy drew her like. Fuck, I forget what he says, but it was genius. It was like, Miss Piggy brought this on herself. And then Hussie's like, I hope you like it. I don't know if I'm doing it very well, though. Like, he was so, like, cheery and like, I don't know if I'm very good at it, but I hope you like it. And then, like, the most people think that Hussie is the one who did it, and he was stirring up shit on his own forum.
So there are conspiracies about fucking the goddamn comic?
Yes, and then, like, supposedly that event is the reason why Dave's brother, like, gets off on puppets and makes puppet snuff porn as a side business. And there's, like, a heavy use of the Saw character, too. Like, those motifs show up in the comic a bunch. So the question is, did Hussie just take that into the comic, or did he set it up to foreshadow the comic? Because he's such a fucking weirdo, it's impossible not to not question it. It's not outside of the realm of possibility. And it's fucking genius, man.
If you say so.
I wish I had come up with Muppet Baby porn. Because it's a great fucking joke.
It's a pretty great joke. I will give it that.
What was I talking about before?
Muppet Baby porn.
Before that. Before aspects.
Yeah, every character's aspects
and like time travel. Right before time travel, what was I talking about?
Aspects.
Dancestors. That's what I was talking about.
Dancestors.
So basically, like, there are two sets of players, and like one set is simultaneously the descendants and the ancestors, and each one of the troll ones is a parody of the fandom. So, like, there's one whose name is, like, oh, I'm going to forget his name, but I like him a bunch. Hold on.
Holding.
Matuna Captor. He is, like, a parody of the 4chan fandom. So he's very violent and aggressive, and he calls people retard a whole bunch. But he himself is a retard. Like, he has actual brain damage. He has to wear, like, a Mega Man helmet all the time. Because he's, like, knocking into shit. And, like, he uses, like, dumb reaction images in lieu of, like, conversations sometimes. And he's really, like, a bitter misanthrope to people. He's great. I love Matuna. But the best one is Concrete, or Cancrete. Kankri. And he is a literal whistleblower and a parody of the social justice warriors on Tumblr. And, like, 2012, before this was really a thing.
Shit.
Or, like, right on the cusp, at least. And so, like, the idea of the trolls is that they are on a hemo spectrum.
What does that mean?
Every troll has a different color of blood, and your blood color denotes your class, or, like, where you stand in society. So, like, the highest blood color is purple, because it's the highest visible color on, like, the visual spectrum. And the lowest blood color is red. And then, like, intermediately between that and whatever. And Cancrete goes on these huge tirades on people's blood privilege.
Really?
He's red blood, so he's the lowest level blood. And there's another character who's also a red blood who just fucking, like, sits there agape and watches him go on and on about the struggle of the red bloods. It's hilarious. I love Concrete so much. He's so fucking stupid. Oh, it's the best.
Anyway.
What's next? What else are we going to talk about?
I don't know. You're the one fucking leading this. I don't know anything about Homestuck.
Yeah. Fucking. I guess we could tackle fan theories and fan theorists, because we have exclusive dirt on Bladekind Eyewear, popular fan theorist.
Dirt,
like dirty laundry between him and a live blogger. It's not really dirty laundry. It's kind of dumb what he does, and hypocritical. And I wanted to make fun of it because it's stupid.
Okay, let's do it.
You want to do that now? I thought we would wait. But fuck it.
Wait, okay, we can. No, let's wait till the end then. But I don't know how long this conversation. I don't know I don't know Homestuck. You're leading this. I don't know how long this is gonna take.
All right, let me take a quick look at my notes. I asked some people on the Homestuck subreddit to give me like what like controversies they wanted me to cover, and I have that thread up here, and it's a very good one. So we talked a little bit about the update schedule earlier and how it was super fervent. It has not really been fervent the last couple of years, because in like 2012, Hussie started to take long hiatuses.
Okay.
So they were like a couple weeks without an update, and usually it was like.
Now this is before we've gone months, because I know that's happened like the past couple of years.
So like when the Dancestors were introduced, they were introduced in these big walkabout sections. So it's like instead of like 18 conversations with the like going through the same motions, just walk around and talk to the characters at your own leisure. And it would take a long time to program and make them, and like these big browser games. And he was also like contracted by Namco to make a game for them.
Wait, really?
He made like a visual novel for them. It's browser based and it's free. And it's a bunch of like Namco characters. And it's like the main character is like the cousin of the prince from Katamari Damacy. And like you can date the ship from Galaga.
That's awesome.
You can date Pac-Man. But like Pac-Man is the principal of the school. Because it's like a dumb anime visual novel at like Namco High is what it's called. And like you're like the exchange student, and it's about your trials and tribulations in love, and Pac-Man is the principal. It's great. It's fucking stupid though.
All right.
Anyways, but there was at one point he's like, all right, look. We've hit a snag in the story. I got a kickstarted game I have to make. And I'm putting out so much content, I can't develop the game. We haven't really done anything for it. I got ideas. I don't have a crew. I don't have a developer. I ain't got shit. I gotta go get that stuff started. So we're gonna start Megapause, which was several months of basically no updates, so that way he could get started on some of that stuff. And I believe you might know who this developer is. I don't know them off the top of my head, but for a while he had gotten the guys who developed the PB Winterbottom game. Do you remember that one?
Yes.
They were making the King's Quest reboot. They were going to do the Homestuck game for a while.
What happened?
They got
A
fucking
Gentleman
to
is who
do the
that is.
King's Quest game.
Oh, damn.
So
That King's Quest game looks fucking great, too.
it does. It looks really good. So at that point, Hussie was like, well, shit. I guess I have some updates I can pump out. And he pumped out some stuff, and then he was like, alright, look. We gotta go fucking stone cold for a while. I was trying to say cold turkey, and I ended up saying stone cold, and then I tried to stop it, and I ended up saying stone turkey.
Stone Turkey.
Basically, no updates for a very long time. So
Fuck you, Stone Turkey.
He was going to finish the comic, begin development on the game, and then just upload the comic all at once.
Wow. Whoa.
Or at least he was going to do the rest of the story, and then the big finale was going to be one giant flash, and there would be one more hiatus while he did that. And that's what Gigapause was. Gigapause lasted from, I want to get the exact year, because it was very long. I believe it started in it was April of 2012, I think. And I don't think it ended until September of 2014.
Whoa, that's crazy.
I want to say that. I might be overdoing it a little bit. Pause, start. Fuck. This is very unprofessional. Again, this is the raw audio.
That it is.
Hold on. Weak stuck. And a paw. Okay. No, okay. It was October 17th that he started Gigapause. It was September of 2014 that he stopped. So it was a year without any updates. And then there were several months in a...
And when that happens, basically, die. If they go that long, they're usually just dead.
Yeah. The community was active. This is why the community doesn't suck as much anymore. Because the passion and the fervent tree that began to that died out. There's still a big community, but it's much more lax. The people that I've encountered in the community are much nicer. They're much more interesting. They're a lot funnier. Like I said, the Homestuck subreddit helped out with this podcast. That's a really good community. I've been in different threads on different forums for Homestuck that tend to be very good. I think Gigapods was a very good thing for the community, at least. So, when Gigapods stopped, Hussie basically said, look, this was a really shitty year. He spent a lot of the year... he basically made a game development studio from scratch. Straight up, he was like, I'm not going to hire someone else just to flake out on me. I don't think... I assume it wasn't, as simple as, sorry, we're not doing Homestuck anymore, we got this thing to do. There was probably, well, we're sorry, we'll pay you however much that you were going to pay us or whatever. Or it might have even been, they didn't get far enough before they were poached for King's Quest. But more or less, he was like, I gotta, do this in-house. So he spent about 3 solid months making a game development studio. Hiring people and getting computers ready and all that shit.
Okay.
And then he's like, the good news is, his label, What Pumpkin, which is, they have a store where they sell shit under What Pumpkin. They have a record label where Homestuck music is sold called What Pumpkin. There's now a game development studio called What Pumpkin. Which is why I was saying, when this Homestuck thing's done, he has his game studio. It doesn't make any sense for him not to continue making games.
Right.
He wanted to, make his site much more stable, because it crashes all the time. Not because it's coded poorly, but because it has a huge amount of traffic.
Because of Homestuck. Because people fucking love Homestuck.
Yeah, and then he's like, I only really got about 3 months worth of work done on the comic. I didn't finish it. But he did do a good deal. He did like a couple acts. He did like a huge flash. That was very well done. And then so we had updates for a couple more months. That ended late January, so about a month ago. We'll probably get something April 13th, which is the day Homestuck proper started, and it kind of becomes like an anniversary. So we'll probably get something on that day, however small.
All right.
And then we'll continue. He'll probably continue to do the comic in earnest. But during the Gigapause, in order to appease the fandom, he started something called Paradox Space.
Paradox, okay.
So Paradox Space...
I will go ahead and just say, as someone who, now needs to go through and read Homestuck, that's a cool title. Like, that sounds interesting.
That is more or less what the universe of Homestuck is called. Paradox Space is a universe in which time travel, where paradoxes are not just expected, they are integral to the plot. Several times, cause and effect do not happen in the way we expect them to in Paradox Space. The reason you time travel may be the cause, or it's hard to say. Like, sometimes effect comes before cause in Paradox Space, basically. And what Paradox Space, the website, is basically, he was like, people are making so much fan shit already, let's make a site where we will get noted webcomic creators and they will just make Homestuck stuff.
Oh, that's what you sent me! Holy shit!
Yeah, I sent you one, a specific one. It's like the mini deaths, or like the inaugural death of Mr. Seven. That's actually written by Andrew Hussie. And like someone in a forum was like, hey, I wonder if you could read this without reading Homestuck and if it would work. And it seemed like, yeah, you could.
I opened up Paradox Space, and the thing on the home page is the fucking trolls.
Yeah, it is. It's very popular. Paradox Space is a hit or miss. It is effectively a series of gag-a-day comics set with Homestuck characters. It's not necessarily canon, and it's not necessarily good either. It updates one page a day, and generally, like, Homestuck has small updates, but then it's like, I wonder what's going to happen now. Like, what's going to happen next? And that's what people do. And that's what a lot of the driving thing is. When you have a gag-a-day strip that updates, like, one page a day, when you speculate, you just figure out the punchline.
That's how far I found where I was in Homestuck. I was, whenever it switches to the weird bandage guy, like...
Oh, the fucking mayor? He's the best. Mayor's the best.
The mayor is his name?
He is the wayward vagabond, but he becomes the mayor of Cantown.
Yeah, explore. That's literally the page I'm on says WV. Explore west of Cantown.
Right.
Yeah.
No, WV, Wayward Vagabond, is the best character in the comic.
Alright.
There are many times where I've been reading Homestuck and I've thought, this is bullshit, but I'm going to go back to the mayor soon. It's like,
alright, well, you can re-explain the plot to me up at that point, so I can just pick up and not have to reread everything.
Right, like there are several characters in the universe who explicitly, their lives revolve around keeping the mayor happy. It's great. Anyways, awesome. So Paradox Space is very hit or miss. Most of them aren't. They're not bad, but it's it's
fan fiction.
If you type Homestuck fan comic into Tumblr, you'll get the same thing on a much wider radius.
Yeah, well, I mean it's fan fiction. That's how you deal with fan fiction. Like, some of it's going to be really interesting. Most of it probably won't.
Yeah. The current story arc that they're following is Summertime Romance, which is written by Zach. I believe it's written by Zach Morrison, who does Paranatural.
I don't know what that is, but you sure it's not Zach Morrison, a.k.a. the lead character from Saved by the Bell?
That's Zach Morris.
Or not Zach Morris. Damn it. He still has the best superpower of all time.
Right, he can stop time willingly. So can several Homestuck characters.
Time out.
Yeah. Dave can do it. Aradia can do it. Damara can do it.
Well, fuck you, Dylan. I like it.
Caliborn, straight up, his power is he basically destroys time.
You know, I don't know what names mean, right? I know Dave. I've met Dave. I know Jade. Jade, well, because Jade and John are basically the two main characters because they're playing the same. Initially, at least, they're the two co-op partners.
Rose is who you're thinking of.
Rose, sorry, you're right. I'm thinking of Rose.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's no real main character of Homestuck. There's John. John is to Homestuck what Spider-Man is to Marvel Comics. He's a character we all know, we all like, we all touch base with him. If we have to see a story, we probably want to see it from his point of view. But there are long.
That was a really fucking good analogy.
Yeah, there
Marvel Comics in general.
Yeah, there's a very long stretches of events where he is not involved, but you like him enough that you kind of want to see his perspective on it. Fuck, what was I talking about? I was talking about something.
Sorry, I interrupted you. We were
Fan Comics, right.
Yeah.
The current one is by Zach Morrison of Paranatural, which is supposedly a really, really good webcomic. I've been meaning to read it a lot, because everything I see of it looks really good.
I got really mad at I don't know if it's because of our show or because of what's been going on lately on the internet or just in general, but I got really mad at the internet and like I backed away from Twitter and Facebook and I deleted for the listeners who don't know me that well, which is I assume all of you, I used to have just a bookmark folder in Google Chrome called Webcomics, and basically Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I would right-click the folder and say open all, and it would open 40 to 50 tabs of webcomics that I was caught up with, and I'd read the latest ones. And I was like, this is taking, like, I guess just 3 hours of my week, but I don't care about most of these. So I said, fuck it, and I deleted the whole folder. And the only webcomic I have in my bookmarks is still fucking Homestuck, mostly because of you, Dylan.
Yeah. You fucking dork.
Oh, and I guess the only quote unquote web comics I follow are not real web comics. I read manga online a lot because I'm an asshole.
Right. I mean, what else are you gonna do? Buy it?
No.
Doesn't come out here that often.
I fucking bought the last 8 volumes of Rave Master in the past year, and I finally finished it.
Been waiting 6 fucking days for Tokyo Ghoul to get translated, but it's not Naruto, so it doesn't come out every week. It doesn't get translated an hour afterwards.
Well, and it's not just that. It's like I want to read it. Like I fucking read it. Dylan knows I read a shit ton of actual comics.
Right.
Like I will go ahead and say, especially when this was recorded, Grant Morrison's Nameless is really cool. It's like everything I like: weird, secret cult societies, conspiracies, fucking like Cthulhu monsters. It's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I spend about 20 to 60, depending on if there's a new trade, a week on comics. So
to tie this back into Homestuck, there is a character, Caliborn, who wants to be an artist because his sister is an artist and he wants to be better than her. So he buys a how to draw manga book and learns to draw from it.
Those are the worst books ever.
And he is the shittiest artist, and he just sits there and talks about his fine anime bitches. He also demands other characters draw smut of the characters for him, but his smut is like characters holding hands.
So he's Chris Chan.
He is the best part of Homestuck.
Chris Chan.
Kind of. He's Chris Chan. He's Chris Chan if Chris Chan had the anger issues of Darkside Phil and could actually do things.
I was gonna say he's Chris Chan if Chris Chan could actually be a functional member of society.
He is Chris Chan with the anger of Darkside Phil and the ability of Doug Walker. He pulls himself up by his bootstraps and accomplishes things, and he's the worst, but he's the best. He is the anti-mayor.
Awesome.
What was I talking about?
I don't know. Well, now is the point in the show where we have to decide, will there be another part of the Homestuck story or not? Is there enough material for one more episode? Because there definitely won't be more than one, but...
I kind of don't know. I feel like there's there's a little more. All right. Well, there's only a few more topics I want to touch on real quick.
Okay, well, and since I know mostly nothing, and I can, let's go ahead and just keep going and see what happens. This might just be a little longer. I want to try to keep these to like an hour, hour and a half.
All right.
But
so
I'm willing to go long. So
yeah, I'll just go through my list of controversies super quick. One is the Bill Bolin controversy, which I had never heard about before looking into it.
Like Franklin, something I never heard about but should have.
We should probably just not
mention that ever. It's your fault. It's your fault.
Look, you explicitly said, Dylan, what's the most fucked up thing you've ever heard about? And I told you the Franklin cover-up, and you sought it out.
And I was like, okay, let's do this, and I was not prepared.
Dylan, what's the worst pain you've ever felt? Getting stabbed kind of sucks. Okay, ow. Why'd I stab myself in the stomach?
You say this to the dude who's been pepper sprayed to figure out what it would feel like, so yeah. I'm not the brightest bulb in the candelabra.
Well, candelabras don't have bulbs. They have...
Yes, they do. No.
Shitty ones do. If you're gonna have
I thought a candelabra...
No.
Oh, no, you're right. Fuck you, man. Because the way this podcast works is if I'm not telling the story, I am drinking because I do not know what the internet is going to subject me to.
Right.
So fuck you.
What was I talking about? Oh, well, real quick,
the Bill Bowman story. I actually knew that.
Right. The Bill Bolin story. So all the flashes for Homestuck have art, they have art because it's a fucking webcomic, but they have music too. Hussie's not really a composer, so he has a music team who just produce music for him. And then he'll put them into the things, and then they sell them on Bandcamp, and then they split the profits, as you do. So there's one dude, Bill Bolin, who was a big component of the webcomic, and he did a lot of the early Flash music, because he was a really good composer. And there's one Flash, it's like Dave Shut Up and Jam, where it is just Dave in his room on his keyboard, and you can press buttons, and he will set it to different songs, and the idea is Dave composed them in universe. And they're all really good. They were all incomplete songs Bill had posted to the music forum. And Bill was like, well, that's not cool. Those weren't done. And that's basically the question.
Oh.
That's more or less what happened. And he was sort of like, that's really not cool, man. It's very unprofessional. Most of the people on the music thing were like, well, it sounded really good. And Hussie was like, it sounded really cool. That's why I wanted to use it. And it's not like a whole Flash dedicated to it. It's just this little thing. And they were going to sell them.
I understand that too. If you show your partner something and they release it and it wasn't done, you would understand. You're a writer too.
Yeah, I get it.
You actually write more than I do at this point. But that said, did it sound cool?
It sounded great. And people were like, but you're going to make a lot of money off of it because it sounds really good. But he threw a huge fit. And he ultimately left the forum, and his final post was just him giving 2 middle fingers to the camera or something. And so all the flashes were changed, all his music was taken down, and the flashes went back up with different music. So if you read Homestuck now, half of the flashes, most of the flashes before the trolls show up had different songs originally than they do now.
So Hussie changed it all.
He changed it all. He used different songs.
Because he was upset.
Yeah, the Bill Bolin guy was like, I don't like this. This is fucked up. He left, and then Hussie was like, well, I'll just change the music. It's not a big deal. The new music's not bad. There's one particular one where I could always tell there was something wrong with it. The music loads a second too late, and it always felt off. But again, So that one's interesting. Apparently there's a lot of problems in the fan community with copyright.
What do you mean?
Hussie is...
Because this is a giant issue right now on the internet.
Hussie is very, very protective of his property.
As someone who created something as fucking enormous and popular as Homestuck should be, honestly.
Right.
There's one thing being oh, oh, you made some fan art? Fuck you, it's mine. Like, that's bullshit. But there's
Yeah,
another
like,
thing
no,
with
that's fine.
someone.
Fan art's
Yeah.
fine, fan comics are fine, commissions are fine. But like some people would like, oh, like there are plushie, like one character has like these plushies in the comic, and one person's like, oh, I'll make them and sell them, and he was like, no, that's not cool.
That's and then but I would hopefully imagine that the person said that like, okay, like you're right, it's yours.
That's basically what they did say. They were like, oh, I'm sorry, but like they came under a lot of fire because
Because it's the fucking internet and people are
fans,
total dicks.
yeah, fans are fucking stupid, and people are like, you're crazy, you're trying to profit off of this dude's stuff, and you have no right to do that. And like apparently she got like death threats and shit. It was through Tumblr, so I'm pretty sure, I don't, like, the person's Tumblr isn't around anymore. I saw a mirror of it. I think her account was, like, Bright Eyes Down or something. I don't want to, like, speculate too much. I'm going to guess it was mostly, like, hyperbole and she was overreacting. But, like,
I don't know, man. The Tumblr crowd is a vicious crowd.
Oh, I'm not going to say she didn't get death threats, but she didn't get credible death threats. She didn't get, like,
You know what? I will say on the record here, no one wants to read that. Like, it does credible or not. Like, if you read that, that is just like a giant blow to your fucking ego and just sense of self.
well, yeah, I'm not saying it's right. It was explicitly wrong, in fact. I'm just saying I don't think she had to, like, shut down or anything.
No, well, I mean, we're also in an era where everyone's a fucking internet babby, and I say I don't like what you said, Dylan, and then you shut down because how dare I say you were wrong? Fuck me.
I don't want to. Anyway,
Don't you?
this is super weird, though, because there's a lot of, like, copyright material in Homestuck.
Really? How
Um,
so?
well, okay, so I guess this is different because Homestuck it's a free webcomic. There's ads on the site, but you don't have to pay for the material. But so like Jade, the character, in like her house, like her grandfather has like a bunch of like suits of armor, and a lot of like the background art in Homestuck, it's just like public domain photography, like with the colors changed.
But that's not a copyright thing. That's not copyrighted material. If it's public domain, it's free to use.
Right, but like one of the suits of armor is straight up just Iron Man's armor.
Oh.
And like there's like a panel dedicated to like, is my grandfather Iron Man? And she later uses the Iron Man armor to build like a set of Iron Man armor for herself.
Well, at a certain point, is it that's a whole other discussion about pop culture becoming just like, because it's just so in the public eye, is it
But it's like
fair use?
it's not like armor that looks like Iron Man armor. It's
Iron Man armor.
It's a still production shot of the armor from the first Iron Man movie, grayscaled. And like even in the comic, it's like you probably shouldn't wear this outfit so much, so like the risk of getting sued is lowered.
Yeah.
That's probably why that you can only buy 2 volumes of Homestuck, because I assume at some point, like the changes that would have to be made are so
Wait.
extensive.
Is there a print version of Homestuck?
Yeah, you can buy the first 2 acts, I believe. You might be able to even buy the 3rd act. It's heavily.
Why? Considering it's all GIFs.
It's like
there's very minor, but there's like fucking animation in every panel.
oh yeah, I think it's like completely reformatted to be like a normal comic.
Oh my god, I kind of want to buy that.
I've been super curious just to see what they are. Apparently, like Hussie has like commentary in the bits, so there's like
yeah, that's a lot of webcomics do that. Like the only printed webcomic I actually own, and I expect to get some shit for this, is I actually own the first like 4 or 5 volumes of Mega Tokyo.
right.
But like I know I never ended up buying them, but I was looking at them like the Penny Arcade stuff, like because it's a fucking 4-panel webcomic. It doesn't fill the pages, so like yeah, they put commentary in the pages, which is an awesome like incentive to buy shit. That's why people like having DVDs, is for the special features.
Right. So there's like content that explains mechanics of Sburb that are only in these books. Like
Shit.
like there's one that someone posted a couple months back on the Homestuck subreddit of like, you have to play by the game's rules, and if you try to break them, the game will fight back harder. A lot like the kids in Jumanji fail where Robin Williams succeeds because he's playing by the rules.
That made me really sad.
That's what that's what the post was about. Was like, oh, I guess.
I know, but I really miss Robin Williams.
Yeah. But so there's stuff like that. Also, fucking all right, yeah. So I mean that's weird, but again, the comic is free. There's a very fine line between selling someone else's materials and whatnot. And Hussie was like, the reason we don't sell as much stuff is because people are like illegally selling it. So like, all the trolls have like horns,
Right.
Why don't you guys sell like those horns to people and they'd probably buy it for cosplay stuff? But it's like so many people are doing that illegally, it's not worth it. And I think they actually sell plushies on their shop now.
I really like the Homestuck art style. I will say that. I really like it.
I like it a lot too.
It's super it's a mix between like super generic like cartoon and just fucking weird shit.
Yeah.
Like it's weird. It's got a weird like it's how Tim Burton has a weird view on just the world and it comes out in his art style? It's like Hussie is that, but for the generation that grew up with the internet.
Oh yeah. Definitely. I like it a lot. It changes a bunch, and I remember thinking, like, man, I wish I could see them as, like, people a little more than just sprites. And around Act 5, the sprites kind of disappear, and it just becomes, like, art.
Yeah, that's... I spent a couple minutes the other day, since I'm basically switching all of my instant messaging just to Google Hangouts, going through our GIF history and downloading a bunch of really awesome GIFs, and there were a bunch of them were Homestuck. The Homestuck lesbian porn stuff.
Yeah.
Or porn for girls.
Yeah, that's all done by Caliborn.
That's really...
the best character.
It's really funny.
It is. Who are you going to call? Ghostbusters.
So what other controversies?
So another controversy, and now...
Well, real quick before we move on, sorry. How do you feel about the copyright thing?
I understand it. I think it's very weird for, like, an independent guy like Hussie who kind of plays fast and loose on his own terms to do it, but it's so big, and it's clearly, like, I understand it. I totally get why he does it. And I guess, like, I think a lot of people underestimate how fucking huge Homestuck is. Like, he has a straight-up legal team.
A team, you
like,
say?
I mean, that's what, like, I read some of these emails, like, I even, like, one of the people even, like, contacted me about it, like, hey, if you're going to cover this stuff, I'd like to let I'd like to give you our stance on it. Because I like
someone from the legal team contacted you?
Yeah. Like, they were
wow.
on it, and they were like, hey, they didn't contact me, like, privately or anything. They were just like, it's not really hypocritical. I said it was, like, kind of hypocritical, and they're like, well, not really. Like, when you look at the laws, it's very clear. If you'd like, I can go a little more into depth. But when I dug deeper into the issue myself, I felt like it was clear enough. But it sounds like he has a team of people who handle this stuff for him, rather than he himself doing it. That could just be like he has like 2 people, and they make it sound like there's a team, just to sound more professional. But I wouldn't doubt that he has a team. He's got a fucking game development studio.
That's true.
Penny Arcade didn't. Penny Arcade put their shit out on, like, XBlig.
No, Penny Arcade hired the people who went on to make Death Spank.
Yeah,
which and then they hired what's their nuts? The people who made I can't remember their name, but the developers who made Cthulhu Saves the World.
I don't remember. All I remember is, like, I watch a dude on YouTube who covers, like, all the shitty Xbox Live indie games that go on that service.
Yeah.
Arcade games showed up on it. Whereas
that's weird.
I'm willing to bet Homestuck will make it to Xbox Live and PSN.
I really like the Penny Arcade games, so shut your mouth.
I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying, Penny Arcade does not have the weight we think they do. Doesn't have the weight Homestuck.
They don't have in the same way. It's not the same. It's they're whereas Homestuck expanded to become a creative bastion to make entertainment, Penny Arcade became a community thing that has events
Yeah.
and shit
It's
instead of.
I just realized, like, the fucking dudes who make the Penny Arcade Expo couldn't get their goddamn game on Xbox Live?
It was. They both. The difference is I don't know about the first two. Were like they were the first. The first Penny Arcade game I think was the thing that broke the $10 barrier on Xbox Live Arcade, or one of the first games.
Weird.
And it was really fucking good. Those first there are 4 Penny Arcade games. I own all of them. I have finished the first 3. I haven't finished the 4th one because I got into writing then and I was busy. But they're all fantastic.
I'll take your word for it. Not to go super off topic, but did you see Tales from the Borderlands episode 2 comes out like on the 17th?
Oh shit, we'll stream that.
Sure. The final pre-sequel DLC comes out soon too.
I don't know. Tales from the Borderlands is still my favorite Borderlands game so far.
It's really good. It's not as good
really
as
fucking good.
Games are.
Yeah.
I stand by Borderlands.
So, do we have any other controversies to cover?
Yeah, we got a couple. The big one. Let me cover this real quick. Weight, kind of. There's 2 characters. There's 2 of the trolls, Pfeffery and Vriska.
I've heard these names. God help me.
Pfeffery is a sea troll. She's like of the higher caste, and like the high caste trolls live in the sea. So some people were like, shouldn't Pfeffery be kind of fat if she lives in the ocean? Because sea animals have fat.
Okay.
There's a theory, actually, that after some sort of extinction event, humans became aquatic for a short while, and that's why we have so much fat compared to other primates.
So, Atlantis?
We're also... No, we just sort of went underwater for a little bit. We're also the only primates that know how to swim.
Really?
Yeah.
That's surprising.
We're the only animals that do a lot of things. Like, primates are the only species that know how to point. Or understand it.
Really?
It's canines are the only other animals other than primates who, if you point, a cat doesn't know what the fuck you're talking about. But if you point, a dog will immediately move to where you're pointing to. They get it.
I'm going to test this out when my puppy comes in a month.
You should test. I do it all the goddamn time. I point at my dogs every day. I should point at them for hours, like a pod person.
Oh, I told you I'm getting a dog, right?
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I'm getting a corgi.
Neat.
Yeah. We named her Einstein. Anyway.
So people were like...
So Pfeffery and what's-her-face?
Yeah, Vriska is... So I kind of glossed over Vriska mostly because if you're going to read Homestuck, it's better to sort of realize her kind of on your own. Vriska is a character that Hussie designed specifically to, break the fan base. He wanted it to be... Is Vriska good?
Wanted to hurt them.
Is she... Sort of. He wanted, people to fight over her. He wanted it to be, is she a good person, or is she this secretly, the worst villain?
When you said I wanted people to fight over her, I immediately thought of waifus, which I guess was an invention after this happened, so...
Kind of. I mean, shipping is such a big part of Homestuck. Everyone has a waifu. I think most people... The weird thing is, in, Persona or whatever, it's whoever you is with, I am with. But in Homestuck, it's I have a favorite character, and I want that character to be with someone. Very rarely do people want to be with the characters, I feel.
That's really interesting, considering the internet.
Right. We'll talk about that one in a second. We'll talk about Kanaya and Rose, who are kind of the Homestuck golden couple. But Vriska is a character that Hussie designed to be very polarizing. And, I guess, at some point, Fat Vriska showed up, off of the thing.
How diverse and accepting is the Homestuck community? Because you say Tumblr, and they're not an accepting community, but they're a very diverse community.
It's the Tumblr community. It's exactly what you think it is. People get very fucking upset about race. And do you want me to reiterate the Caucasian thing?
Yes.
The Caucasian event of monochromatic race.
the Caucasian. No, you don't have to read.
The Caucasian event. That's the event that made humans go aquatic for a little bit, actually.
I don't know. I just like the word Caucasian.
It's a great word. Um, I don't know what Fat Vriska is about, but like some people got really uppity. Like you shouldn't be fat shaming this fictional character. Like it implies being fat is bad, which it is. I'm a fat person. It's not cool to be fat. All right, you're not like automatically going. You're not automatically a pile of garbage, but you're not like
No,
no.
no,
Like
it's just unhealthy.
don't be vindictive about it. All right,
Yeah,
you can be fat and be healthy, but a fat person, you can't like. It's not. Yeah, like if you're taking care of yourself, you shouldn't be fat. You should actively try to not be fat if you're going to call yourself a healthy person.
yeah.
Unless you live in the sea, then it's okay.
Well, that's because that pressure and fucking like body warmth work differently then. So
Vriska is a character that's very polarizing again. I like Vriska. I think she's fun. Um, that's kind of it.
you like things?
Yeah. Again, like the plot of Homestuck is what character is fucking up the universes for everyone.
But I never knew that. That's really interesting.
It's a super interesting, like, that's just sort of my take on it, but that is basically what it is. Like, who is the person fucking everything up? And we kind of always get implications that there's a bigger villain, but it's like the threat that it's a player is something that's fairly new, but it's always kind of been in the background. That is basically what Homestuck is.
And is quick question for like because we were talking about like the 32 player game you said, or is it 12?
It's 30. All right, so there is the troll sessions are 12 players. The human sessions are 4 players.
All right. So but and then like they hinted at the 12 then.
Uh,
Or
they,
no,
the
that's
36.
a 36.
But it goes up. Yeah, it goes up by multiples.
And
Yeah, Hussie was like, I'm gonna make a 36 player session of Squiddles, and Squiddles are like the Homestuck version of Teletubbies, and they're little squids. And they are also like how human beings perceive Lovecraftian horrors in the Homestuck universe.
I see.
There's a big
I don't know.
dose of Lovecraft in Homestuck as well.
I lost the point I was making, and it was a dumb point anyway. So keep going. I love Lovecraft too. So you're just saying, David, come over here and waste a bunch of time and enjoy yourself.
It's good. It's a good comic. There's a lot of good, dumb Lovecraft stuff. There's like a subsection when Rose first appears. She has like a Necronomicon of like they look like the Meat Boy versions of Lovecraft monsters.
I will take a break from reading Hellblazer and read some more Homestuck.
Like instead of Cthulhu, it's Tofulu. Stuff like that.
It's so stupid, but in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I like Vriska a fair amount. I guess with that, we might as well transition into shipping, which is the big part of the fandom.
It's a big part of every fandom, to be fair.
But
and for those who don't know what shipping is, it's slash fiction, which if you don't know what that is, it's just who you think characters should be paired up with if they were real people, because that's the thing we need to concern ourselves. Fucking fictional character matchmaking.
Yeah, ship relationship, that's where the name comes from. Homestuck has it kind of built into the fiction on some level. Like, there are characters who explicitly, like, they ship them, like, they are shippers, so it kind of, like, builds off of that. Hussie really likes to fuck around with alien biology, so, like, the trolls, they don't just feel love, they feel, like, hate love. To where, like, you hate someone so much, it's effectively love, is the idea.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and the idea is
like Batman and the Joker, or at least, well, more the Joker towards Batman, but
yeah, that's exactly what it is. And the idea is like in troll society, everyone needs to produce like fluids of red and black, and they all like the entire society puts it together in like a giant incestuous slurry is what it's called. And then from that, the new trolls are born.
So trolls are born through incest.
Kind of. There's no real incest in troll society, but it is, the idea is like every troll is there's no like every troll is bisexual, every troll is polyamorous by design.
So literally, Hussie was like, Tumblr really likes this. I'm gonna make Tumblr a character.
Yeah, and then there's a very large gay cast, you could say. Of human characters, there's only like one dude who's explicitly gay, or like definitively gay, and there's only one troll who's definitively gay, which is Kanaya. Although Kanaya is not said to be gay in the comic, someone asked Hussie on Formspring if she was, and like, yeah, I thought that was real obvious. And I guess it was to everyone but me, because I guess I'm the only one who didn't see it.
It doesn't need to be odd. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It kind of matters.
That's it. I guess for.
I don't know. It was
because people care about it so much. It matters, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, basically. But those two people give a lot of shit whenever someone doesn't ship Kanaya or Dirk. Dirk is the other gay one. If they don't ship them with like other, I mean, if they're not gay ships, like if they make straight ships or whatever, they give a lot of shit to them.
But if you only have a one male character and one female character who are explicitly homosexual, who do you ship them with? You can't ship them with each other. It doesn't work.
I don't know. I mean, I'm going to reveal some awful truths about myself here for the world to see.
Gay people, and you want to burn them all and the gay agenda?
Yes, my best friend is a gay man, and I'm getting close to him just so I can get an in, and then I can kill them more effectively. Like Solid Snake. My gay friend is my cardboard box.
Not Otacon?
No. You should come in my box, then you'd know. Anyways.
Anyway, keep going.
So the golden couple in Homestuck is Kanaya and Rose, which I never got. Everyone else seems to, so it seems like I'm the only one who doesn't like it. It might be because I liked John and Rose. I thought they had like a good chemistry together.
Well, they're co-op partners.
Yeah, I thought they worked well together, and they had like a good dichotomy. And I felt like Kanaya and Rose didn't. But everyone else must have. So this is one of the problems. Homestuck is such a meta story. If you are not actively participating in the fandom, you miss some stuff. There's stuff like that of like people pointing out like, oh, I like this. Like that infectious idea, that meme didn't get to me. And that's meme in the classical dictionary definition, not the modern definition of Doge and shit.
No, you want to talk about Homestuck? That is literally Homestuck. Homestuck is something that is so crazy. If you're not active in the fan community, you can miss plot points.
Yeah, basically. But anyways, so that's a couple that it's one of the only couples that has persisted since it like kind of started, and they haven't broken up like a lot of the other couples have. So
wait, like, what do you mean couples? Like they're what?
Like the characters of Rose and Kanaya are canonically together.
Oh my, wait, wow, okay.
And they have been for a while. So there's a big time skip after Cascade. And between those time skips...
What was Cascade?
Cascade is like the end of the first half of Homestuck. And there's a time skip between them.
Okay, right, yeah.
We will hop back into those characters sometimes, and most of them live real shitty lives. And it's an awful part of the comic, because it's like, oh, all these characters I like, well, turns out they are just miserable dorks all the time. Like, I'm sad because the girl I like doesn't like me enough, and I don't give a shit. I don't care at all. That's part of the reason why John is one of my favorite characters, is because during that segment, when everyone is sad because they're broken up, John literally goes, all I want to do is play the game and finish the adventure already. I don't want to date. I don't want to have relationship drama. I just want to play the game already. And
since basically their whole world has become this game, and they need to, beat it to get back to normal.
I mean, by that point, the game has drastically changed, but...
Yeah.
Anyways, but they've maintained, so it's pretty rare for people to ship Kanaya with anyone else anyways. But when they do, if it's not another woman, they kind of get like in a tizzy about it.
Like people on Twitter.
Yeah, like people on Twitter,
Okay.
people on Tumblr and other places, I presume.
I
But
haven't been on Tumblr in like 3 years, man.
there is a joke where one of the trolls kind of comes on to John, and John's like, "Oh, I'm not." His exact words are, "I am not a homosexual," which is such like a plain Bill Clinton way of saying it that it kind of caught on with people very quickly because it's so dumb.
It's pretty great. I
I
actually
am
do
not
really
a
like
homosexual, no matter what the people down at the manhole say.
it. You added that.
I did. But people ship him with dudes all the time, even though he is explicitly straight. So it's a very clear double standard. And again, it's not canon anyway, so who gives a shit?
It's third wave feminism, bro.
I believe, whatever. Yeah, Kanaya is very popular with people. When I didn't list her in my list of like acceptable trolls, I probably like caught a lot of flack, but whatever.
Did you not accept her, or was that just a mistake?
She's okay. I don't hate her.
I get though considering that the whole reason why I refused to read Homestuck for the longest time was because of the people who like the trolls. I have a feeling that saying a troll is okay is a very good thing.
She's fine. She's mostly inoffensive.
Okay.
Lots of people love her because she's part of like the first completely gay couple in the comic. But I mean, whatever.
Yes, that's a reason to love a character. Because of their relationship status.
I will say there's like Rose is like a big Lovecraft nerd, and some of the interpretations of troll anatomy imply that she's not gay. She just really likes tentacle pornography, and I think that's kind of funny. I thought that was interesting to break down the barriers between societies. Like, they're not gay. It's just their anatomy is more appealing.
So what about other controversies?
I guess we can talk about. I guess we might as well talk about Bladekind Eyewear, who we have exclusive dirt on.
Okay, you keep saying that. You keep bringing that up, and I don't know what any of that means.
One more quick thing. At one point, when Hussie was describing Kanaya, he said, "Well, in her species, bisexuality is the norm. There's really no sexuality, so her only liking women is closer to a fetish than a sexual orientation." And some people took that the wrong way, I suppose. Even though it makes a lot of sense, like the idea that in her society there is no prejudice about being gay.
You just fuck what you want to fuck.
Or even then, there's a lot of problems with troll society. It's a very dystopic universe there. But there's no real set gender, so her having a specific gender preference is very bizarre. It is fetishistic. And there's a gay character who isn't doing it like a fetish or whatever. So I think it is mostly the overreaction of people.
The more you tell me about these things, the more I want to read Homestuck just to know what the fuck you're talking about.
Right.
What the fuck is this game that allows these weird-ass universes to commingle?
I mean, the idea is... Alright, I mean, the basic idea is, every session... every universe plays the game on its own. And theoretically, every habited planet within that universe can play its own separate session. Is the idea.
I'll read. Stop elaborating.
It's
We're
very
talking about
Hussie,
controversies.
When Hussie makes aliens, he doesn't just make people but blue. He actively tries to make a new reality for them. That is the premise of the adventure game. Is a human swaps places with a troll and vice versa across universes.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah, it doesn't really tie into the game or Homestuck itself. It's just you could he's explicitly been you don't have to read Homestuck to play the game.
But doing so will make a lot, fill you in on the backstory.
Kind of. There are implications of a society on Earth that understand more about Sburb than we thought, that never really go anywhere, and it seems like the game is going to pick that up.
All right.
So, fan theories are very popular.
As they are with any fandom.
Right, and I get it. They're fun. I do it too. Everyone does it. We all sit down and we try to think about what's going to happen next and like what's the implications of stuff. It's fun. Like I do it like all the time with Metal Gear and shit. And when I do that, I tend to find out
people, we call them conspiracy theories.
Yes. And when I do that, I tend to find out more about the narrative. So there's a positive to it as well.
Because when someone's like, no, that wouldn't happen because this, and this, and you're like, oh, okay, cool.
But even like I'm just looking at things in a more detailed perspective than I would otherwise. Like the other day, you remember how at the start of Snake Eater, Big Boss, like he has like that big like tirade about how cool his new gun is?
Yes.
Like all the modifications to those guns are competition mods, which implies the gun was originally Revolver Ocelots.
Because
he is a competitive shooter. That's why he twirls his guns all the time.
I cannot wait to stream Metal Gear with you, goddammit.
It's another layer of the story that I never looked at. And like when I looked at that, I was like, that's crazy. I'm really happy I saw that. So I get it. I get why people talk about it a bunch. Most of it's fine. The biggest Homestuck fan theorist is Bladekind Eyewear, who we have exclusive dirt on.
You keep just... You're like a fucking newscaster.
Who is Bladekind Eyewear? How
Some
far
dude?
does his racism extend? Is he behind the Caucasian event? Find out tonight. He's not racist or homophobic as far as I know. I want to specify that I'm not. This isn't the hit piece on Bladekind Eyewear yet.
Yet.
Whatever. Anyways, so he has two big theories. The two big theories of his, and he is the biggest Homestuck fan theorist, are duality and inversion. So as previously stated, each character has a class and an aspect. As far as we know, there are 12 aspects and 14 classes. Theoretically, there could be more.
That's just all we've seen.
Yeah, so like the only ones that we know have to be in the game are time and space. Those absolutely have to be playable, because in order to beat Sburb, you need a space player and a time player. Because there's like a whole like monster breeding mechanic to Sburb.
It's like if you're playing an MMO, you need a tank and you need a healer.
Kind of, but like more specifically, like it's like if you want to make like a Pikachu that knows Surf, you need like a Pikachu and a Squirtle or something like that. Like to fundamentally get to the end of Sburb, you need those two players. So no matter what, both of those players will be in play. Everything else seems to be superfluous. So like John's class and aspect is he's Heir of Breath, H-E-I-R, Heir. And we don't really know what the classes do. The big theory is that an aspect is what you have control over, and a class is how you have control over it. But there's no real like set answer to it yet. And Hussie has been very clear about not ever really wanting to reveal it. So with John, he just sort of controls wind. That's kind of it. But other
So he has the power of farts.
Sort of. But other characters, like one dude, he is like the Prince of Heart. And like someone's like, well, the Prince class destroys whatever your aspect is. So he's like, oh, so I literally am the destroyer, and like the heart aspect is meant to be closer to soul. So he's literally a destroyer of soul or something.
Oh shit.
So his power is more abstract, and at one point he literally rips someone's soul out of their body. Kind of. He doesn't do a very good job of it.
All right.
But he tries, and that's what counts. So, I mean, that's the idea.
Anyway, so...
Right. So we don't really know most of the classes, or what they really do. Like, and we know what they are called, but we don't really spend enough time with the characters to see what they do. And the thing is, until you hit the god tiers, you don't really use your element much.
Which hasn't happened for most characters, I imagine.
I mean, it happens for all the human characters, but next to none of the trolls.
Because they're crazy, violent assholes who just destroy each other.
And they're pretty shitty at the game, it turns out. Like, they don't really make new weapons or work together very well.
They just troll each other.
Kind of. I mean, they don't really troll either, just kind of mean. There's no, like, cleverness to it.
It's just like when you all spawn in like, fucking Gears of War and your teammate just blows you away, and you're like, what the fuck, man?
But instead of, like, blowing him away, like, oh, hey, we need to come over here and do this thing together, and they just don't. Like, they just stay in their own little corners the whole game.
Ah.
That's kind of what the troll session was, more or less. But anyway. Fuck, alright, I remember what I was thinking about now. So, like, the god tiers is basically, if you die in a certain area, you will gain complete mastery over your element.
How do you figure that out?
I don't know.
No one knows?
In the game, Vriska literally just tells John, just sit here and die. And then you'll become really powerful. And he does it, and he does. There's like it's implied that there are like a series of quests you undertake on your home planet or your game planet, and through that you would understand, oh, I have to die on this bed, and then I will become incredibly powerful, or something similar to that effect. Again, a lot of cool stuff happens mechanically in Homestuck. A lot of like rogue level stuff. But basically, the idea is like, alright, so like Rose, the character that you sort of saw, is a very gothic character. And we found out the classes of the first human characters long before we saw them play the game. So we knew there was a Witch of Space, Knight of Time, Seer of Light, and Heir of Breath. And we knew, like, explicitly John was said to be the heir. And so because Rose is so gothic, everyone assumed she was the Witch of Space, and she turned out to be the Seer of Light. And, like, so, like, her home planet is super bright, and, like, all the enemies are very bright around her. So there's, like, a whole leitmotif to her when she is super dark and gothic the whole time.
Okay.
So, that's the clear answer to that is Hussie is just playing with expectations. You expected one thing, you got another. Simple. But Blakekind Eyewear believes that there's more to it than that. He believes that if you reject your class, you can tap into the inverse of your class. So his basic idea is every class has an opposite, and every element has an opposite. So, like, the opposite aspect of light is void. And, like, I guess the opposite class of seer is mage or witch, I think. So, like, by denying, like, being the exact opposite of a seer of light, she can become a witch very sparingly. It's a real fucking stupid theory.
Oh, so the theory is basically you can become your opposite.
Yeah, kind of. But the problem is, there's only, like, 2 real pieces of evidence for it. So we see later on, we see a rogue of Void. There's a character whose class is Void, and we see, like, Void powers take hold. And one commonality between Rose and this other player is that it's a blackout. So there are some characters who are omniscient. Also, in, like, the segment with the mayor, he, like, watches John on the computer monitor, you know? You get to that part yet? Right.
No.
Like, yeah, so there's, like, there are people who can watch you if you, like, players of the Void aspect cannot be watched. Omniscient characters cannot, like, follow them. They're in, like, they're, like, blank spaces.
Like, yeah.
And at one point, Rose taps into the power of the Lovecraft monsters and blacks out, basically. So no one can follow her. So the idea is, through this one event, Rose becomes the opposite of a Seer of Light. She becomes a Witch of Void, and she gains, like, superpowers, whatever. The problem is, though, she directly taps into the Cthulhu monsters in order to do that. So
Okay.
it's much like the simpler explanation is just she uses the power of Cthulhu, and it kind of has a similar effect. Like
Okay.
that's probably the answer, really. Um, the other one I think holds a little more water is that Jade is a witch of like, and also there's like a passive and assertive scale to classes that I don't really get. That just sort of seems arbitrary. I don't know. A lot of it is like because of my other fan theory. This fan theory holds water. That's what a lot of fan theories kind of boil down to. Like you build a mythology in your head, and then it begins to take form as like this is fact.
Okay.
And that caused some problems in a recent event called Game Over.
Okay.
So
I keep saying okay. Sorry.
Cascade was like the end of the first part of Homestuck. Game Over was like the first thing that happened when Homestuck came back from the Gigapause. And in Game Over, most of the characters die. Like a good 80% of the cast.
Really?
Yeah. Um, most of the characters are god tier. So when you're a god tier, you cannot die through normal means. The idea is when
Okay.
you're god tier, you can only die if your death is heroic or if your death is just. So you can't just like die if you're still a cool dude, but also like if you self-sacrifice, then you're dead for good. Basically, how like death works in fiction, but like made into a game mechanic.
Okay.
And like all these god tiers are dead, and then people were like throwing a like wait a minute, this broke the rules. They have to be heroic or just. And Hussie's response was basically, I didn't break the rules. I just broke what you thought the rules were.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that was like a really big thing of like he's like I keep the story ambiguous or the elements or like the mechanics ambiguous. It's basically to keep a more interesting story, but also but the problem is like I don't want to like step on people's speculation, but their speculation is not fact, and a lot of them treat it as it is. And Bladekind Eyewear, in my time reading his theories, definitely falls in that camp, and I think he's begun to rub people the wrong way for it.
Because he thinks his fan theories are fact.
Kind of. All right. So in my, I've never talked to Bladekind Eyewear, but I've met people in the Homestuck fandom who they police like other people's theories. Like, no, that's impossible. Clearly, because of this, and they very much. Someone defined it as like, oh great. Once again, if this person doesn't approve of the theory, we're not even allowed to talk about it.
Ah.
In like one thing, but it kind of explains like half of the fandom. It kind of comes down to the people who are here for the ride, and they're gonna have they're kind of interested in guessing what the next turn is, but they really just want to see it. And then there are people who are obsessed with knowing what the next turn is, and if they don't know, or if someone says it differently, like they have to have like their full-on like a dissertation on why they're going to turn to the left, not the right. And they all have the exact same writing style.
Which
They
is
all talk, like they all write, and they're kind of writing like this, and then they like all immediately go into italics like this. Like suddenly their words become very elongated to add emphasis, so that way you know this part of the sentence is more important.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, don't you? You've seen it.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Like, not only is Rose a seer of light, but she's also a lesbian.
So what's this dirt you have then?
What's this dirt I have? So there's a blog. It's a live blog called Reaction Stuck. Reaction Stuck is a dude who reacts to Homestuck. I mean, it's live blogs are common. So someone who doesn't know what Homestuck is but has heard about it is like, I'm going to read Homestuck. I guess I'll write down my thoughts about it in my Tumblr blog, and they're pretty popular. So I know this dude. He does his own little blog, Reaction Stuck, and it's fairly popular. But obviously, because people can ask you questions on Tumblr, you don't want someone just to like tell you whatever.
Right.
Like, you don't want someone to just be like, by the way, at the end of Act 7, Roxy sucks John off, and then, like, that's how the story ends. Like, you don't want someone
Not
to...
even that. Just you wouldn't even say by the way. You would just post that exact thing.
Yeah, Roxy sucks John off at the end of Act 7.
So you're like, oh, I got an email. Someone said something on Tumblr. God damn it.
Yeah, I got this email about how Roxy sucks John off at the end of Act 7.
Stop saying that over and over again.
That's the name of this episode.
What?
Roxy sucks John off at the end of Act 7 is the name of this episode of the podcast. I'm calling it.
We named the podcast based on what we're talking about. Shut
We're
up.
talking about Roxy sucking John off at the end
We're
of Act 7.
talking about Homestuck. So go back, keep going. Stop getting hung up on this.
All right, so... And I know so they have screeners. They have friends who do it, and we are at the same forum, so I know a lot of the screeners, and I know him, and we talk about it sometimes. So one of the screeners will sometimes be like, because I've read the whole thing, he's like, hey, do you think this is too weird? Do you think this is too far? Or, like, do you think it's okay to show him this? Is it not too spoilery? That sort of stuff. Usually it's just, like, something to talk about.
Okay.
So, after Act 4 of Homestuck, there's an intermission. It follows a totally different set of characters. It is in the universe and it is canon, but it doesn't appear to be at first. The intermission, you can skip it. A lot of people do. I skipped it the first time I read it. I wouldn't recommend it because it's a really fun, dumb little story. It's interesting. It kind of ties into stuff. If you're perceptive, you can skip it. But it's a good story, so you should read it anyways.
Okay.
And he's like, my dude's gonna probably skip it. I'm gonna try and convince him not to because it's it's part of the comic, so he should stick with it. And they were having some fun with it, or like he was having some fun with it at least. He's like, all right, I probably won't skip it, but I'll pretend to skip it just to screw with people.
Okay.
So Blade Kind Eyewear, a lot of people messaged Reaction Stuck about how you shouldn't skip it. Blade Kind Eyewear was one of those people.
All right.
So hold on here. I want to make sure are these all his? Hold on. Okay, good. I have it. I think these are all messages written
by
Blade Kind Eyewear to Reaction Stuck on why he should not skip the intermission.
Okay.
And some of these, like, he put some of these posts together because he thought, like, it was kind of funny how wrapped up people were. So I think some of those could just be by random people, but I'm pretty sure these are all... I think these are all by Blade Kind Eyewear.
Okay.
Because he was, like, making a big... He kind of, like, talked to me about it. Like, it's kind of weird how important this is to him. And it is.
Okay.
So let me...
Get on with it.
Let me find my voice for Blade Kind Eyewear.
You're making my editing job so much more difficult.
While the events of the intermission aren't that important, it does introduce a lot of key concepts and plot points for later. Homestuck consists mostly of fridge logic and things that look like fridge logic until they get cashed in. So
Side note, what's fridge logic?
Fridge logic is a bunch of TV tropes bullshit.
I don't religiously follow TV tropes like Mitch, so what does it mean?
The idea is like, oh, that was a pretty good show, and then later on, when you're like at your refrigerator getting something to eat, it's like, wait a minute, that thing was kind of dumb. Basically, like, the idea is something that you don't notice until later. Like logic.
Like how I realized that the second season of House of Cards was not that great?
Sort of, but more like a plot point. Like how you're like, wait a minute, how did the T-Rex at the end of Jurassic Park get into the museum? Stuff like that. How did they not see it?
Oh, you mean Prometheus.
Yeah, Prometheus. What's Prometheus? Is David an expert in things that have never, ever happened?
Okay, keep going. So keep going with the message. Sorry.
Like, if no one ever explained what the One Ring is in the Lord of the Ring movies, or if Smeagol just appeared near the end without ever being introduced, or if no one explained why the Eagles couldn't just fly right to Mount Dew... Oh, wait. So that's his first message. His point is basically, like, plot points are introduced in the intermission that come up later. Most of them are kind of explained within the comic anyways, or, like, you can infer it enough.
So what's the point?
It's a good little side story. I mean, I stood by that, like, you shouldn't skip it because it's fun. But it's not the end of the world.
If you're reading it, well, I mean, if you're gonna read something, don't fucking skip it. Even if it's like you're...
The Intermission is, like, sold as, like, not part of Homestuck, kind of.
It's like annuals in comics.
It's like, it doesn't even follow the same characters. It follows a totally new set of characters, and it's, like, implied to be, like, in the universe of Homestuck, what is MS Paint Adventures? And the answer is the Intermission.
So it's Lost Highway.
I guess.
It's the David Lynch movie that takes place in the Twin Peaks universe but has nothing to do with Twin Peaks.
No, but, like, if, like, what movies, or it's like, in, like, Marvel, what comics do they read?
Oh. Wait, really?
In Marvel, there's no Marvel comics, so
it's... No. A more apt description would be like how, what was it, like with the Quentin Tarantino universe thing, how, what was it, Kill Bill is like a movie in the world that Pulp Fiction takes place in?
Yeah, Kill Bill is what the characters in Pulp Fiction see at the movies. But, like, it's like...
Because
it's like,
they live in a society... Yeah.
It's like...
They live in a society where Hitler was killed in a movie theater during World War II.
Yeah, but, like, alright, so, like, in Marvel Comics, there's no Marvel, so everyone reads DC, but in DC Comics, there's no DC, so everyone reads Marvel.
Yes.
Or, like, in Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, like, in one universe, Team Aqua are, like, these big activists that, like, save the world, and in the other, they are the villains.
But that doesn't actually happen.
It happens in the... It kind of happens.
That's the one generation I haven't played. Fuck off.
Anyways. When I first heard about you not reading the Intermission, I first thought, oh, why can't they spare themselves that green mobster hell? And then I started thinking, what in it is important? And it's all of it. Recap won't do. It's a necessary experience to live through. You emerge from green mobster hell a better person. More mature, more ready for what's yet to come. Sorry. And then, the Intermission is the best part of Homestuck. Attempted to skip the Intermission. Hold on a second. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure. Okay, here we go. So those were not from BKE himself. Those were just from people upset about him skipping the Intermission.
Okay.
Sorry to sort of put it in like a different light than that. Here is BKE's post exactly. Sorry. I should have checked it a little more clearly. So this is his first message. Many new readers are tempted to skip the Intermission or bookmark it for later. You should not do either of those things, and almost anyone who sends asks to you is about to strongly advise you against you doing so. I fucked that sentence up, or whatever. Don't skip it, please. Solace points. The Intermission isn't very long. It lacks any long pester locks to keep you glued to a single page, and it is not all shitting around. Every single adventure in Homestuck, sub-adventures included, traditionally starts with such shitting. Here's his second message. To put it bluntly, skipping the Intermission will screw up your read-through. There are a number of important things the Intermission helps you understand that you will need to know later on, and we're probably not going to spoil which ones for you. Much like the rest of the comic, you have no guarantee that even the most frivolous-seeming detail in the Intermission won't end up being crucial later on in the story. Alright? Here is his third. This one, he prefaces that it is for the screener, to ask screener. It's up to you whether or not you let anything through about it, but I don't believe Reaction Stuck is going to have the patience to continue reading without the minor spoiler of a vague assurance that the Intermission is actually important. Here's his fourth message, also to the ask screener. If he absolutely, positively refuses to read the Intermission right now, despite all our warnings and the negative reactions his followers are going to have him going through with it, the best page to direct him to would be 3,237 if you want him to be able to go forward in Homestuck with minimum confusion. This is a last resort. It spoils the intermission for him and still deprives him of a number of important things from it which bear out later. Here's his 5th message. One last solace point if your screener thinks you need it to reassure you that you can tolerate this intermission. You're not getting a full characterization of 20 people here. Most of the mooks on that hit list are less characters, more on the level of Pokemon. Here is his 6th message.
Wait, so is the intermission the characters for the thing that you showed me?
Yeah, that's where the felt show up initially.
Okay.
Oh, damn it, you went ahead and skipped it without waiting for what your ask box had to say. Okay, when you finally see your ask box, you do come to your senses and start reading it, you probably want to edit in, and I quickly went back and started reading the intermission don't worry note into the top of your Act 4 post. Otherwise, I mean, that's not important. It's like, if you're going to like check your blog, make sure people know you didn't skip to Act 4, you did go back. So it's not like, you know, I'm in Act 4, but like he's not updating it, whatever sort of thing.
Yeah.
He has a 7th message. It's kind of the same thing. So 7 messages, 2 reaction stuff about why he should not skip the intermission. It is not that unusual, I suppose, for someone to sort of get wrapped up in these things. It's kind of dorky, but
8 messages?
I mean, it's 7 to 8 messages about it. It's kind of dorky, but like if you're into it and like someone's reading a story you really like, it would be equivocal to someone like saying, "Can I just skip Snake Eater?" But you can't, because Snake Eater is the best one, and it's pretty important to the story too. Or I guess like, can I just skip? I'm trying to think of something you like. I don't know. Can I just skip this episode of The Walking Dead?
I don't know. It's like it's you want to equate it to something. It's like Doctor Who. Do you need to go back and watch all the stuff from the 60s to the 90s? No, but it informs so much as to what the character is. But you can just start with the new stuff.
Yeah, it's hard to describe. It's kind of like, do I need to read the annual, I suppose, if it's mostly just like a side thing. And maybe you don't, but if you like the characters and the narrative, you'll probably like it too.
The Deadpool annual is fucking fantastic.
Yeah, a lot of the annuals are good.
It's because they don't, have to make it in a month.
Right. So I wouldn't have given him shit for it. It's kind of goofy, but it's Homestuck. It's hard to say you've read Homestuck and not admit to being kind of a big dork. Okay. Here's the reason I wanted to read this. So on Bladekind Eyewear's blog, someone asked him, it was an anonymous ask, I agree that first-time readers shouldn't be skipping the intermission, but it's kind of pointless to get worked up about reaction stuck. I'm pretty sure it's a reread by a TV troper with hyperbolic versions of stereotypical reactions. I happen to be lurking in one of the Homestuck discussions on the site when someone was talking about making it. I can't seem to find the discussion when I go looking for it now, though. So the idea is Reaction Stuck is not like a new dude reading the comic. It's someone going back and pretending to be a new dude, which it isn't. Okay. The thing, I mean, again, like the dude, we go to the same forum. A lot of his screeners are on that forum, and it's not really like a small thing. It's just sort of a like whoever he knows kind of does it, and it's kind of like, everyone I know is reading it, so I guess I should too. Is the idea. Okay. So it gives the false impression that maybe he is pretending to write the thing. Is the idea.
So where's the point, Dylan?
I'm just putting that out there. Reaction Stuck isn't fake. Here is what his reaction to it is. I don't think Reaction Stuck is faking it, and quite frankly, I don't care much if he is either. See, if he was doing a reread and trying to mock stereotypical reactions, wouldn't his reactions be a whole lot more, interesting? And that's it. There's like 6 or 7 paragraphs about how like Reaction Stuck is super dull and boring. But this motherfucker sat here and messaged him for like 2 days straight about how important it was he didn't skip the intermission.
Why is he paying attention if he says it's super dull and boring?
Because you know why he's doing it? Because he's trying to save face. Because he knows, he thinks like, oh shit, if this is a dude playing me, I got played. But I can use my sway to sort of save face. I can make myself feel like, no, I didn't get screwed over here. I didn't get roped into it. You know, I didn't buy it. But he totally fucking bought it. There's nothing to buy, but he bought it.
Okay.
He fucking, you know, it's one thing to be a dork. That's fine. It's one thing to be passionate. It's another fucking thing to clearly like something, and then when you think it might be embarrassing, or that you might have gotten, like, bamboozled, to turn around and be all like, well, obviously anyone could tell by the low amount of quality that it's not legitimate, or that it's not good enough to be fake.
Like Star Wars episodes 1 through 3?
Sure. Just, like, don't fucking play that card, guy. You're a Homestuck fan theorist, alright? Accept it. Don't go there and be like, well, if he were funnier, maybe it would be fake, but it's not good enough to be fake. Don't fucking pull that card. I'm legitimately upset about this.
Okay.
Like, fucking... This is what gets me about the Homestuck fandom. This is why it sucks. Like, there are people who, like, they're passionate and they're dorks. That's fine. There are people who maybe go too far. It's everywhere. It's hard to get away from. It's easy to be spiteful about it. But it's these people who are like, they dictate how everyone else feels about it, and then they get all uppity, like they're better than the rest of the people in the fandom because they guessed correctly. I know one dude who's like, if a fucking dude is standing in front of a door, he'll go like, I bet he's going to open that door. And then when he does, he'll be like, see, clearly, even though we all knew he was going to open the door, I'm the only one who said he was going to open the door. That's the type of fucking people that make this fandom the worst fandom in the world.
That's the internet, Dylan.
That's the fucking bad part of the internet. That's
most of the internet!
The fucking part of the internet that writes death threats and the part of the internet that fucks with people, that's not the part we need to get rid of, because that part is just people being stupid. We need to get rid of this, because this is the insidious, I'm better than you mentality that makes the world a worse place. You know
Both of those are the same thing.
You know what the dude who writes death threats does? He just goes back to his job at the gas station. That's it. You know what the dude who thinks he's better than you does? He goes out into the world and he spreads his bullshit everywhere he can. That's the problem.
They're both the problem.
Fuck you, BKE. You suck.
Stop saying that. I keep thinking BTK.
I should note, these are my opinions, not the opinions of the Ask Screener or Reaction Stuck.
Or this podcast.
No, it's my podcast. It is the opinions of this podcast.
Our podcast.
My
Fuck you.
podcast!
I don't even know. You're just gibbering bullshit.
It should be, no, like, I told Reaction Stuck about it, like, hey, is it cool if I read these things on the air? And he's like, yeah, but, like, just let it know. I don't mind this stuff. It's kind of dumb, but I'm cool with BKE. So Reaction Stuck and his screeners, they don't care. I care, because it's stupid. It's stupid. It's stupid to act hoity-toity over a webcomic. And then Roxy sucks John off at the end of Act 7.
And that's the Homestuck Historia. Put a pin in it. It's done. Are we talking about Peter Coffin next?
Do you want to talk about Peter Coffin?
I feel like we need to do it soon. So, yes.
Fake girlfriend. Apparently shit still happens.
Well, I mean, it's our breaking news episode, so yes, we will talk about that. Next time, we will be back soon. Again, I know we took a little break there. We were catching up. My job is crazy right now, but it'll get better. We'll stream more stuff. It'll be fun.
Right. We streamed Life is Strange a couple weeks ago, but we haven't been able to put it up yet.
I don't know why the audio keeps dropping out of the video when it's in Premiere. I'm looking into it when I can.
Is our podcast on iTunes yet?
I'll look right now.
Oh.
But yes, we should be on. If we're not on iTunes right now, as you're, watching this on YouTube or whatever the fuck, we should be soon. We had some issues because all of a sudden iTunes decided that if your art is not 1400 by 1400 pixels, which is really fucking big for album art, we're still waiting.
Right. So if you're new to the podcast, if you liked it because you want to check in, the edited versions all go up on iTunes. So if you want to only see those,
they're way better.
Yeah, they're a lot better. We put music in. The audio is better.
If there is literal sound clips of the people we're talking about, those go in there.
I mean, there's fans who voice.
Well, I don't know about this. This episode is different. But I mean for other episodes.
There's an extensive library of really good Homestuck music, though.
So that'll probably be our under music. So yeah. Check that out.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
This episode was at the end there. I got a little more bitter than we usually get, but you see a lot of this stuff, and most people tolerate it when they shouldn't have to. And also, follow me on Twitter at ODSD. I usually don't do that, but I'm literally the best person at Twitter.
You're really good at Twitter. I don't know. You're not gonna do that. But I can't be you're being an egomaniac dick. But no, we're ending this. Shut up. Bye, everyone. No, say goodbye, Dylan. I'm gonna hit.
Guys, kill the kill. Renamed #KillTheHill.
Bye.
I hope there's not too many blacks at PAX.